Hello everybody. Ugh, that janky ass audio cut. Hello everybody, welcome to another video. We return for Secrets of the Obscure, day 10, would you believe? Day 10, and we're continuing along, but well, right now I'm in Dragon's End. I was going to run a meta last night, but I made the mistake of doing it on EU in the middle of the night, which meant it was pretty dead. I mean, we were struggling to get people pretty bad. Someone even in the chat was like, oh, I'm going to go to an LFG Discord and see if I can get anyone. And yeah, it really didn't work out. But anyway, I need to, believe it or not, there's some End of Dragon stuff that I still want to like slowly work through. And what I usually like doing with the expansions, which isn't available in Secrets of the Obscure, is the specialization collections. I really like these skins. I've always liked, you know, they don't really give you any story, but you get a little bit of flavor with like interesting names and stuff. But the Untamed one, I've got essentially no progress on. Oh no, I'm lying. I've got 6 out of 14 now. But yeah, a lot of these are Dragon's End for some reason. I don't know why Untamed was assigned Dragon's End as a map more than the others. Like, surely this would have been Echovowed Wilds. Surely! But yeah, so you got to get map comp here, and you got to do. Well, hold on. That explains why my range is here. Why is my Ellie here? Oh, I think because I came on my Ellie thinking I'll do the meta, and then I realised I could swap to an Untamed, so I ended up on my Untamed. Anyway, let's spend another massive waypoint cost to head back to Amnitas, and in fact, we can go to the Bastion of Knowledge now, which is where the majority of this well, no. This is where this episode will start. I don't know if we'll spend the majority of the episode here. We'll probably get 2, 3 bastions done, I would expect. Anyway, yeah, it's currently very late at night. This is the latest in the day I've recorded one of these. And it's just because of the heat. It's actually been a lot cooler the past couple of days. It finally rained. You know, the kind of rain that finally breaks like a summer heat and a summer humidity. It's just the best goddamn thing. But it's just, the heat came back so quick, so I don't know. It's been another uncomfortable day. Whatever. Somebody suggested, by the way, that I disable player chatter. I only very recently re-enabled this with the game. You know, I don't know. I found it kind of novel hearing a bunch of voice cues that I hadn't heard for ages and ages and ages. But one of you guys in the comments was like, hey, look, it can sound really messy with repetitive voice lines we probably all heard before. And that overlaps with NPCs, and that might overlap with another NPC. I think there was a specific moment in like episode 5 or something. So yeah, I mean, I can disable it. I've actually spent a lot of time today messing with MMO settings, but not Guild Wars. Because I've been, like I mentioned in the previous part, I reinstalled Final Fantasy. I've been tentatively looking back at it. And it's easy to forget how shit that game is in terms of like its UI. Like, Guild Wars, I think if there's anything positive you can say about Guild Wars that is not controversial at all, like no one can realistically deny this, is that Guild Wars has the best like QOL, polish, and like best working UI of all the MMOs. Yes, it's less customizable, alright, I can't individually move all the different pieces, but this game has it just I don't know, maybe it's like sitting bias, you know, maybe it's because I know I'm very familiar with the Guild Wars UI and how everything works, and so it feels natural and it feels at home. But genuinely, things just like work here, I feel like. Even trying to acknowledge and push past that bias. In Final Fantasy, I have so many add-ons installed now. Like just a bomb of add-ons and like customizations and tweaks and things, just to try and maybe hammer it into something that looks and feels good. But no matter what I do, you know, certain things just feel floaty and clunky. And they let you tweak some things, and you have to use third-party things for other things. It's insane, man. It really is a mess. But, you know, if I'm going to be doing a series on that coming up, I would like it to look good. And basically, there's 2 things that's going on with me. Half of it is I'm trying to... It's essentially UI design. I mean, really, the level to which you can scale each individual element and stuff based on third-party tools. I'm trying to get the UI in such a way that it's fun for me, but it's also, you can see what's going on to look at it. So I had a thing on my old series with that game. I know we're muted, I'll unmute in a second. I had a thing going on with my old series with that game where basically my character's health bar, in Guild Wars obviously we have this giant health orb here we can see. I didn't have a health bar on screen. I had a floating bar above my head. So you see where it says like God walking amongst immortals beneath Lys's nameplate there right now? That was my health bar. And I had a lot of people always saying to me, where's your health bar? I don't understand. Where's your health bar? And likewise, I didn't have like the classic enemy health bar on. I had like it in other places. And that worked for me and that created an immersive UI or whatever, but I think it wasn't too spectatable and stuff. So I'm kind of like doing a slightly different take with it or whatever. But yeah, I've been toggling so many settings and fucking with different things today. It's funny to come into Guild Wars and then immediately just be like, oh, everything works again. Everything feels good. Everything's how I expect it. And I'm sure so much of that is just, you know, I'm used to this game, but not entirely, you know. There are a lot of things about Final Fantasy that's just, it's just shit. It's shit, and a lot of MMOs like that. Any MMO, oh god, is there something in my headset? Ew. I think there was a bug in my headset. Because something definitely just moved against my ear from inside the cup. What was that? Oh god, it's late. It's late and the light's on, and it's dark out, and there could be moths. Did I somehow get on a sky scale with that? Okay, let's unmute. What was that? That really freaked me out. I can't see anything there. I've run my finger all the way through the inside of it. Alright, hopefully we're all good. Yeah, so this event, I don't know, Cryptis are attacking the bastion. We want to defend it. I still have no real clue with Secrets of the Obscure, like what it is I should be grinding for the obsidian armor stuff. I assume rifts on core maps, but I don't know. Apparently the obsidian armor grind right now, like setting up, is insane. It's obscene, and I actually have nothing against that. It's kind of like what we were talking about the other day. You know, there's this streamer thing where, because all you do is sit around playing the game all the time. You want really long-term goals that are totally bloated and not relevant for 99% of the player base. So I'm kind of okay with that, but it sounds incredibly boring. So I don't know. And also, there's a thing. I think if I can trust anything of Guild Wars, it's that this next patch, maybe I said this on the previous part, this next patch will probably inflate the rewards, you know? It's probably going to be difficult and slow to do right now. But if you keep the game installed, if you remember that it exists, when the next patch comes out, it'll be easier for you. There'll be a bit of word of mouth, there'll be a bit of chat. Oh, I didn't press the button, I just walked into the launcher. So I'm assuming that this next patch will make it a bit easier. And maybe even the patch after that, which is the one where Obsidian Armor actually becomes available. In that patch, and that's going to be around, you know, just before SAB or something, I think. In that patch, it might get even easier.
Stop them!
So they've returned. Protect the bastion.
Whatever it is in your ear, it's protein. Well, I'm not going to eat it through my ear.
Bout after bout. These gates shall not fall.
I've got a really big complex about flying bugs, okay? Like, they really, really freak me out. And I think it's got worse as I've got older. You know, like, when I lived out in the countryside, the bugs were so much worse than being in, like, towns or cities. It's unreal. And because the thing is, in the UK, you guys might not know this, I don't really know what it's like in Europe either, but in the US, it's a big thing to have, like, screens over your windows, so you can have the window open, but bugs won't get in. We don't really have that in the UK. I mean, maybe some people do, but our windows all open differently. You know, they're on, like, hinges instead of, like, slides and stuff, so, and when you have a hinge window, it doesn't, you can't really put a slide on it. Not in the way, anyway, because they kind of cross in and out of the window as they open and stuff to save space and things. Because we have tiny houses cramped in together because there's so many people on a little island. But yeah, it's not easy to keep the bugs out. So, and obviously the bugs are around in summer, and summer is when you want the windows open. It's especially bad, like, coming out of summer when it's like daddy long leg season. Those are awful. Or I think Americans call them crane flies. They're like one of my greatest fears I actually interact with on a regular basis. Every year, twice a year. I swear they have like a breeding season twice a year. I swear it's moving into summer and moving out of summer. When I was younger, I used to notice that spiders were a lot more abundant at certain times of the year as well, but I don't tend to go crawling around in bushes and shit anymore, so. Mind you, again, when I was out in the country and you'd go on like long walks through like farmers' fields and stuff, I once made this terrible mistake, right? It was like this beautiful, dewy, like autumn. No, it wouldn't have been autumn. It might have been spring because there were a lot of crops in the field. So it was like this beautiful, dewy, like fresh sun, wet out, but like a really pleasant wet, right? Cool wind on your face, but a warm morning, clear sky. and I go out on a walk,
Now,
right?
let's see what
Oh,
we
we're
can
gonna have to stop
find.
the anecdote because Guild Wars is talking. This is the start of the event that we saw the end of in the previous part. We'll be right back with my story. For now, here's a song.
By the alchemy. This is what Isgarren was hiding? These items, if any of them were to ever see the light of day, any one of them could fundamentally change the course of Tyrian history.
I actually don't like this dialogue.
Quickly, let's keep searching.
Because a lot of this shit is just like, you know, they're just untethered. I mean, literally, for some of them. You know, it's all unsubstantiated, just stuff in rooms. And you say, wow, these could change the course of history. You know, that's my comment to make. That's not the dev's comment. Oh, I don't know. What am I trying to say? It just feels like...
Okay, you lot. Spread out. You see anything of note? Report to me at once.
You can't just say that without substantiating it and expect me to feel it. All right, that's what I'm trying to get across here, you know. I don't feel... It doesn't blow my mind. It will blow my mind if I see some logic behind it or whatever, but you can't just nakedly say a thing like that, you know. I mean, I guess if I was a really empathetic person and I really connected to what she was going through right now, maybe I'd... But, I mean, I'm just not that.
The inquest. That's not me anymore. That's not me.
I like this, though. I feel like we had an overabundance of inquest stuff for a while. There's an alarm, sorry.
Kill it before it escapes!
But there's still a lot I want to learn about the inquest. I still think they could be really interesting in a depths mini expansion. And I still think, so here there's this...
Fear. It's mine.
Oh yeah, this is kind of a huge bomb.
Whatever this thing is, Wayfinder. But I do not like it.
Yeah,
I do not like it at all.
Ex-Inquest members could be interesting. Right, moving on to this thing. Yeah, they do this thing here where Paither's like...
Its way into my mind, forcing me to remember things.
It's a purple anomaly that forces you to remember things. Now, here the character is like... Wayno, I guess, is ex-Inquest. Holy shit, I didn't even think about that fact. That's kind of crazy. But it forces you...
It's gone.
There's too much. I can't do this. I can't talk while they're doing this. We have to wait. We have to remember every little observation and we have to bomb them all out at the end. Because that's what it means to LP Guild Wars. And we're going to sit in silence through all these gaps here because if I try to make a comment, they're going to move on to the next thing. The city, it's gone. It's all gone. What the fuck is that? What city? Who's the citizen? Anyway, yeah, and this eyeball, I guess I can talk about mechanics. Locks eyes to turn foes to stone. I'm trying to turn away from it, but these feel coded differently to how the other ones work, and it just feels rubbish. It doesn't feel fun or new or novel. It just feels like, should I look away from it? I'm petrified there anyway, and I'm looking away. And the timing seems a bit weird. What we can do, they've logged all the NPC text in the chat, so we can just, you know, we can read it together.
It's gone. All gone.
Hold on, that's coming from me. But I'm listed as a citizen. What am I supposed to do with this mechanic? I love this effect. This is really cool. Oh, and Balthazar just said, how sad for you to die so far from home. Oh, that's cool. That's an actual Balthazar quote as well. I think that's what he says to us when he kills us.
I'm picking up abnormal rift readings. Nearest Astral ward, report for defense.
Is that the meta dialogue is now overlapping with this? I swear, isn't that what Balthazar says as he kills us? That's very cool that ArenaNet thought this would be a haunting memory for Commander.
Leave this place, Wayfinder. I'm resealing it. Isgarren was right. Some secrets are best left forgotten.
I'm going to follow her this time to see if she says anything when she goes back to her reset position. She'll probably just teleport somewhere, but we'll see. Yeah, okay, so... well, we're still not out of the woods, really, are we, if she does randomly start speaking again. So, yeah, an anomaly, but it's called... What did they call it? An entity. The entity itself was screaming. I'm not sure we're meant to fully understand this. It's obviously meant to be intangible, and it's meant to be weird and fucked up and unknowable. It's obviously some kind of great power, because it can make Paitha even feel fear. And Paitha's like, what the fuck, I seems to be surprised that they ever feel fear. Paitha doesn't know what it is, and as far as the story's gone at the moment, you know, we're kind of like the demons are the big bad, the demons are the big story now. So to introduce at the same time, subtly in a dynamic event, something that eclipses them in other ways, is really cool. It's really captivating. It sort of makes the world feel big. Lots to speculate about still. Whether they will drill into this more in the future, I don't know. Whether they have an internal wiki or a serious idea about what this is, I don't know. I tend to have lost... I've gained a lot of trust for ArenaNet in terms of do they know where they're going and what they want to talk about and stuff through Secrets of the Obscure. I've gained a huge amount of trust. Actually, even before Secrets of the Obscure, I've gained a huge amount of trust since like that extra live quest chain, certain parts of End of Dragons as well. So I don't know. Do they have a clear idea about what they want to do here? It's pretty interesting though, right? The thing about the city being all gone, now that's curious. Is that just another memory of ours though? That's not a premonition, that's not a flash of another world or another life or something. I'm assuming, because that quote was given to us in the same way that the Balthazar quote was given to us. How sad for you to die so far from home. So, did Liz at some point hear the city, it's gone, all gone? When would Liz have heard that? Some kind of log in Ratanovus? You know where my head's going? It's going to the goddamn Infinity Ball storyline, and did the alternate Liz talk about Ratasoon being destroyed there? Was it... It wasn't Amnoon. I mean, I'm sure there's been a billion times in the story where a city's been... What, a city, though? A city? Guild Wars doesn't really do many cities. You know, in my little world-building MMO project thing, I've been thinking a lot about, like, how I would want to present a fantasy world that feels big and feels exciting. And the kind of thing that I've settled on is I believe you should write all the shit in. That just because it exists doesn't mean there's an obligation that you have to produce content for it or take players there. And if I just go at the whole project with that mindset right from the start, I think you can have a really... And you can present the game in such a way that that feels fine anyway. And if you go at that from the start, you can have a ton of cities and you can do things, but it's not like you have to render all these cities. It's not like there has to be any expectation you ever really go to them. At a certain point, you know, that becomes clear. Because my idea essentially is you go on a big adventure, but you're still experiencing a narrow slice of the world. It's a huge adventure across, you know, multiple nations, blah, 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 but it's a narrow slice. And so I can talk about cities, it's just they're over the hill and you don't get to go there, you know, but... You get the chain link fence effect of seeing them, or, you know, a bit like how Guild Wars 1 gave you a sense of a really big Ascalon, but you couldn't really go to, because you could always see shit in the distance, but it's like, oh, you can't climb over that hill because there's no jumping or whatever, so sorry, you won't go there. You know, because my thing is limited to a 2D plane. I can do a lot of stuff I can do that constantly. I can do stuff in the background that you will never go to, because you're a side scroller, you only move left or right, and sometimes up or down. Anyway, Guild Wars doesn't do much with cities. Like, when we think about Orr, right, in one sense of the lore in Orr, it's a huge nation filled with cities, you know, filled with them. But as it really boiled down, the way that the engine worked and everything, it really kind of feels like there was only Ara, and the other highlights are like villages, you know, the village of Ren or whatever. It's not like the city of Ren, you know, because... that starts straining credulity to way too much of a degree when you realise it's just a tiny ring, you know, as far as the game can render it. I mean, it's interesting to think of each cathedral as a city as well. Isn't that the thing in the UK? You are a town until you have a cathedral. Isn't that right? And even if you're quite a small town, if you get a cathedral, you're called a city. I'm pretty sure that's the rule. Or historically it was anyway. But yeah, so what cities have been destroyed? I don't know. There's also, thinking about Asura again, there's that Ratasoon 2, by the way. I'd love to see that one day. If you guys don't know, because look at this. This is what I mean by ArenaNet are giving me trust, right? What did they do? They have a character, Urchik, in this expansion that is a reference to the Brill Alliance stuff. I had a comment, by the way. I'd looked just before starting this episode. One of you guys was like, hey... I thought of this as well, which is so good. They referenced the Brill Alliance, okay? So the fact they did that makes me think back to, say, up here, the Luminates plant. This, if you guys don't know, you go and chat with the characters there. I'm pretty sure I'm at the right place. Yeah. You walk in through here and you get the hero challenge. The guys here, they're making a new Ratasum. It's like, and you can see like a hologram of it. It's another floating city that they're making, and it's like bigger and better than Ratasum, and that's their project. And you know, this map is set, what, 11 years ago now? So it would be so cool in a mini-X pack to be like, okay, well, where does that go? It's odd, though, because, again, it would fit so perfectly into this, right? We're essentially doing the floating city thing again here, right? That's where we are, Amnitas. But, you know, so it would slot so perfectly, and we're at Maguma. But, you know, they're mini-X packs, so they can't scope creep them or whatever. This event's going on again. I'm not going to do it again. Anyway, yeah, anything else I've got to say about this? I don't know, it's just weird, isn't it? It's just cool and interesting and quirky and strange. It's actually what I would expect at the Bastion of the Obscure, not the Bastion of Knowledge, but hey. I suppose it fits, regardless. Let's actually try and explore a little bit now. Is that a portal I can actually go through? Oh, is this where the event took us and it's sealed off now? Okay, I think so. And it confuses me to go into it, that's cool. Nice little detail. There's evidence of the Cryptis infiltration that we want to collect. Oh my god, I'm losing frames here. Man, my PC, I swear, you know, this is a really good PC. This is a crowd-funded PC from you guys. And what was that? That was 2 years ago now? 3 years? Actually, it was a year before EOD, so it was 3 years ago. Holy fuck, that was 3 years ago. But, it's a very good PC. It's a fucking insane PC. And I tell you, I get so many, like, frame issues and things. Baldur's Gate does not render well for me. And I thought, oh, maybe that's just Baldur's Gate. But, you know, I played for a couple of hours last night another game that Kerry recommended to me called Kana, Bridge of Spirits. Just like a fun, chill game to play in the evening. It's really cool. Like, you collect these little allies that follow you around. People call it, like, the Disney Dark Souls, that game. And I've never played Souls, so I don't know, but whatever. Anyway, that game works like crap on my PC. It does not play well. And even here... Guild Wars was just having a bit of a hiccup there. Anyway, here's Isgarren's tower. Did we already find Isgarren's lament or anything? So the idea that each of these towers is associated with a fractal kind of doesn't work.
Elementals. Someone go handle it.
Oh, there's Champion Ember. Okay. Is this one of Isgarren's elementals? Here, he's going to get Propagator. And he's going to get... This is such a weird name for this. How does a healing tendril that applies a regen equate to Propagator? Is he propagating via the tendrils? Is that the thing? And then the spinning lasers, which I actually hate this one. I'm not very good at this, but we'll see what we can do. Okay, I should probably dodge that. Actually put a knockdown on that. I should be more than familiar with that animation, because I use this Fire Elite all the time in PvP. All the fucking time. And it's really strong. It's quite difficult to get its true strength out. You have to, like, be very careful about whether you use water or use fire, or... You have to, like, wait for dodges and defensives before you activate, you know, the double tap. I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna be able to make it through this. This is too dangerous. Here, if I squad up, if you guys want to play with me, should probably put another blast on or something. So I can... Mind you, Arcane Brilliance, if I tag a bunch of the lesser Ellies, could be good. We seem to have an ally. What is it? A druid? He might heal me. Yeah, I was actually playing druid in Dragon's End yesterday. I was going to swap to Untamed when the meta ended. But... Because you know, this whole boon buff update for PvE, I still haven't really interacted with that much. There were kind of two massive shakeups for PvE that happened back to back. There was the boon buff one, and then very quickly after we've had relics and the rune change. The second of which massively power crept a lot of stuff in the game. But yeah, I've barely interacted with the boon buff thing, and what I really wanted was to play Alacrity Untamed. But it seems it's not really a very favoured build, and I don't know, Untamed was always just so shoddily made. You know, in some ways, it's really... I'm kind of totally okay with Secret of the Obscure not doing elite specs, because I have a very low opinion on a lot of the work done on the EOD set. I mean, I must be honest. And Untamed just being so skewed towards that fucking cooldown on CC trait, which was so hilariously brokenly OP, or like just fucking crazy in terms of like how it defined everything else and was nothing could really match it, that I remember playing that in the betas and having a blast and thinking this is going to get nerfed, there's no way this will make it into the game, and then yet it made it into the game and they didn't touch the fucking thing for 2 years, and then when they finally nerf it, of course it causes an uproar because it's become the crutch and the defining thing. You know, there are people actually out there that will say that's what Untamed was all about, it was all about that trait. No, that's one Grandmaster trait, that's not what Untamed's about. Untamed's about unleash and leash, you know, unleashing you or the pet, and it's about setups and payoffs. That's what Untamed's about. It's not about one Grandmaster just because you ran it for 2 years. But anyway, you know, the uproar will come and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, I don't know, a lot of stuff like that I feel like happened with the EOD Elite specs. Shit that I wouldn't have expected to make it out of that beta ended up making it out for ages. All right, which one's this? This is the Grand Library. Oh, this is a very cool place, guys. Are you ready for a lot of story and lore? Oh, I'll finish my story as well before we go in there. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, okay. So it's a nice morning, all right? I've painted the picture for you. I'm out on, like, a walk. I won't call it a hike, but it was like a 2-hour walk throughout the countryside. At that point, I would do it very regularly, right? And just sort of explore different nice areas or nice casual walks. But I was on a particularly long one, and I went out like to this farm, this field. So it's like, you know, it's Ramblers' rights. You can go anywhere you want, really. And what they had is they had a bunch of crops, probably like chest-high crops. I don't know what they were. Just a lot of leafage and greenery, okay? And cut in between them, if you guys have ever gone walking through like a field like this, they have a very, very thin, like mud footpath that you can walk through, and it's very thin and it's very narrow because obviously, you know, the guy that owns that land, a guy that's, you know, he wants to get the most out of it and he's going to cram as much shit in as he possibly can. So there's a very thin little path, and so naturally as you walk through, and I'm talking, you know, a huge field. I'm talking like, oh god, how do I, at least, I don't know, I'm so bad with like units of measurement in terms of like distance and stuff. I'm talking at least half a mile, okay, like a long field. You're going to be walking on it for, you know, a good chunk of time. I'll do it in terms of like time to cross it. You're probably going to be walking on this one field, on this one thin path with the crops very close to one another for, you know, 10 to 20 minutes, okay? You're walking a long time. I don't know the exact, but a long time. So it's a lovely, beautiful morning, and, you know, I go out and I'm like, okay, well, let's walk through here. And I'm out in, like, essentially, like, 4 or 5 minutes into the field, right? Now, behind me is just a bunch of narrow paths that I've already walked on, because I walked there to get there. It's not very exciting. You want to forge ahead. You want to basically create a loop to get back home, right? You want to, like, loop back on yourself. So I don't want to turn around. I really don't want to turn around. And as I'm walking through the crops, because it's a dewy morning, all the tiny little bits of condensation that are on the leaves obviously start brushing against my clothes, and I'm soaking wet. Once I've got in there, I'm completely soaking wet. So it's like, well, look, I've already started this. I may as well just go all the way through. Now, being soaking wet, I was fine. I don't mind if my trousers get wet. I don't mind if my shirt gets wet, because like I say, you know, we're talking chest height, right? I don't mind that, and it's a nice day. But then, so I'm in the middle of this field here, really. Then I notice a spider web. And because remember, I talked about spiders being in season. I noticed a spider web, and I noticed what the spider's done is it's seen this little mud path, and it's thought to itself, well, that's fucking perfect.
Somebody stop it.
That's perfect. I can just make my little web across this narrow gap, and all the flies will go in it. That's brilliant. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever been like a subway at night, you know, where they have the lights in the corners of like an underpass, you know, an underway subway beneath like a motorway or whatever. You get like the spider webs on there, and there won't just be one. Like all the spiders will have set up their webs on these lights, and you'll see a ton of them. But they're way up against the ceiling in the top corner. You won't care. It was that, okay? So it wasn't just one spider. So I like pushed through, and as I see that there is a spider, like a big fat plump spider right in the middle of the web, and I got no choice. You have to go through it. You have to break its web, which I feel bad about, and you have to like try and do it in a way that the spider won't get on you afterwards. So you got to like coax it over. But I'm telling you, it's like 10 minutes straight walking at a normal speed, and I quickly realise that there must be like 100 spiders and 100 spider webs all on the rest of the path, all the rest of the way. And like I spent a good while just like faffing about with each one, and I was like, I'm never gonna make it. And I didn't want to turn around. I know you're thinking, oh, you just turn around, but I really didn't want to turn around. So I just sort of thought, and the thing is, because I got wet from it, I kind of got a bit numbed to it. So I just, eventually, I kind of got over the fear of it and just plowed on through. But, oh, God, I think quite often. And that's the thing, any other day that I go there, that wouldn't, not that I'd been to that specific field, but you go through a lot of fields like that. That would not have been a situation, but it was that day. And I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that. Everything go, that was way too long of a story with way too crappy of a payoff. Let's go to the library, because we've seen these other events. The question is, how do we get in there? Here we go. Hello, Archivist Diana. Apologies, Wayfinder. I've got the librarians checking on a millennium of priceless volumes. Books that are there, only one copy left in the world. Sounds important. Help yourself to anything on the shelves. This is one of the finest libraries interior, after all. I just wish I had the time to give you a proper tour. So we already I was already ranting and raving about the Dermot Priory archives. We've already had a bunch of experiences like that. Well, here's just a straight up library. Look at this. And it's pretty good looking as well, you know. Here, I'm actually hitting my Final Fantasy hotkey to go into first person, but Guild Wars doesn't provide that, which is a bit of a shame. People are muttering somewhere about a book. I couldn't quite hear what they were saying. There's an event here, just like the library in End of Dragons. Also a highlight for me, you know, where there was like the propaganda and Snargle was there and stuff.
Attention, Ward. Preliminary signs of multiple rift anomalies.
All right.
Possible equipment malfunction.
We have to mute the dialogue because I guess ArenaNet decided they don't give a shit about dialogue that procs across the entire map with metas, because that's just the status quo now. We have to mute it. I'll have to be very careful. It's a shame we won't get the quiet vibe. And if a cool event procs here, we might miss the dialogue. But if they're just going to be chatting away for ages because the meta's going. Oh, I don't know. It says 10 minutes before they invade, but she'll probably keep talking on the way there. What do I do? I don't know. Let's do this. A checkbox that's disable like long distance. Oh no, whatever. It's pointless. All right, let's just see what we've got. Now, like I said to you guys, I've gone very loosely over this stuff, but I haven't thoroughly gone over any of this stuff. So there's probably a ton of things for me to learn about here and to see here, and we'll see. So Brocker says, please, you have to help me. Pardon my hushed tone, but I can't trust Wavering Heart with this. I suspect she may be possessed. Calm down. Tell me what's happening. The library's been infiltrated. Look for missing books, tampered documents, anything that will help us determine who is compromised. Okay, I'll check it out. Alright, so it's the same thing as the purist propaganda. And again, this is fine. I'm totally... You know, I will take 6 mini X-Packs with this exact same archetype of event, because the fact is the content changes. Last time I was thinking about purists, now I'm thinking about demon incursions, okay? And the books and the subjects are all different. It's fine. It works in this event. You may as well bitch that they that after you saw an escort in Queensdale, they should never do an escort again, you know? Or after you saw a place get attacked in DSO, that you should never see a place get attacked again. They're archetypes to be used. I think this is a good way of going about it. So, you see a bunch of book titles, papers, figures, but something seems off. So there's a notebook on Cryptis detection techniques from the Last War. When was the Last War? Is that the Century of Darkness, I wonder? Vass's handwritten notes on determining sentience in flora, or Zizzle's Advanced Concoctions and Alchemy Cook Guidebook by Zizzle. Well, this one is related to the demons. But how is that bad? How is that evidence of tampering?
I can feel them watching me, scheming, laughing.
Please, yeah, is this what you need? I mean, it did a happy face, like I did the right thing there. That's actually an old personality icon, by the way. It's quite interesting. In Baldur's, a weird side tangent here. Oh, I can't really go on it. Well, I can. Baldur's Gate 3 gives you like these origins as a part of character creator, and what the origin does is, I think it's called origin. It's something like that. Anyway, it's like, you know, you can be a hermit, or you can be, you know, a cleric. No, not a cleric. That's a class. You can be a historian, maybe, or I can't remember what they are, but they're basically, you know, maybe you can be a smith, might be one. And what that means is as you play, you'll get different dialogue options every now and then based on that background. And I was reading on their wiki, like, there were a few that were cut, like Sailor was going to be one, and it got cut, and there might be a mod that re-adds Sailor and stuff. Anyway, they all have these beautiful icons. Actually, Baldur's Gate 3 has amazing icons for, like, all of its classes and these kinds of things. And it makes me think about the old Guild Wars one. Like, I've talked about this before, but you know, in the other episode we saw when I was here, the catalyst icon for lists up here. Normally that's the Ellie icon. You know, this suite of icons, you know, representing the classes. They actually have another layer of these for the personalities. You know, like if you were ferocious, you become like a barbarian. That was that was essentially the Guild Wars version of the backgrounds. It's a cut system now. It's not really in the game, but you know, they have such good icons for all of those, and I think they're all really cool. And that's what these like little floating masks look like. But Baldur's Gate has great icons for its classes, its subclasses. Actually, one of my favorite things about Oblivion, the Elder Scrolls 4, is also it had really cool class icons and like the icons for the different schools for the spell casting and things. Like I have a bunch of them saved on a drive on my PC because I just think they look that good. And again, with my little MMO thing, I would love to have like a similar thing. I don't know, I think it's like Gregorian, like stained glass kind of vibe. It's so good. Anyway, we've ran it so long there that I haven't even got credit for this event anymore. So, Intuitive Techniques and Gazing into the Future by Dagda. Fear Not This Night, a compilation of scary stories by A. Hawthorne. Or a hastily written note of screaming gibberish. Can't stop. Pain. Screams.
Whispers and lies everywhere.
You know what I think's probably quite nice for the studio on this as well? I get the sense quite often with ArenaNet. So this guy's possessed. I didn't realize they'd put combat in here. I get the sense quite often that they like putting the interactables in the world, but making the content for them's a chore, you know? So it's cool to like write a bunch of books, like the titles and the authors and stuff. Like, the idea for what might be interesting to read is very easy to come across, and it would be cool to put in the game. But then, if you actually have to fill it out with the lore information, you actually have to write the fucking book, or an excerpt from the book, suddenly that's a lot more time, that's a lot more effort, that's a lot, you know, that's a pain in the ass. And what's quite nice about these events here is they can have their cake and not have to eat it here, right? I've completely mixed that metaphor there. But you see what I'm saying? Like, or just butchered it. Like a Kraukatoriad affair. That's cool. We get it, right? They don't have to write the fucking thing. Modern J technology schematics. The Astral Ward certainly moves fast. So look, they're looking at that. Or ethical interrogation tactics on emotions and their manipulation by Lear.
I can feel them watching me, scheming, laughing.
You know, you can put the fun thing in without having to do too much more. Of course, there are real books here as well. We'll do the event first, and then we'll start looking at those. And I assume I've missed a lot of those. Coden Migration Patterns by Waiting Sorrow. Definitely a Coden. Isgarren's notes on Eparch, though tampering is evident. And an extensive document on The Order, a group of necromancers from Ascon. That's cool as well. This is cool, right? I like what they've done with The Order in Secrets of the Obscure. I didn't say this on the previous part, but you know, The Order's one of those things from, like, Guild Wars 1, where it's like, there's almost nothing written about it. It's so fucking thin. They don't even have a name. Just The Order. It's like the Scepter of Orr. You remember what I said about the Scepter of Orr? And in Secrets of the Obscure, they were like, okay, we should probably give the Scepter of Orr an actual name. When did I weapon swap? Right? It's the same thing with The Order. But unlike with the Scepter of Orr, where they gave it its actual name, Legavo, with The Order, they've just embraced it. They've just ran with it. And they're just still calling it. And I quite like that, actually. Jesus Christ, I do no damage. What does Dagger need? It just needs to be power crept a little bit. PvE. I mean PvP too a little bit as well. It's got a fun flow to it, but... Or maybe it's me. Maybe I need to prioritize Earth more because it does have a very meaty churning Earth in it. Oh, we didn't get to pick the book. It's gone now. Did I fail that air quotes because I didn't pick it initially? I was being attacked. Anyway, by the way, they totally cheated there. You can't write, it has obvious tampering. I mean, what? You have to tell me the tampering and let me decide if it's tampered. A report on Cryptis attacks around 635 BE. Wow, 635 BE. This is exactly that window of history that I was talking about that's so interesting to have filled out. A report on Cryptis attacks with several lines blacked out. Modern traces of the Marganites. Nice. By E. Benedictor. That sounds like a Kurzik second name, but also that just sounds like E. Doesn't it? Modern traces. Why E would be right about that, who knows? Well, the Sand Jackals, right, of course. I love the Marganites so much, man. They're one of my favourite factions. A study on the Skrit hive mind, including an interview with Urchik. Well, it's going to be this.
I can feel them. Watching me. Scheming. Laughing.
Is nowhere safe from the Cryptis.
Where is this Where is Brocker? Is he down here? Alright, well there you go. So that's that event. I don't know if they have a follow-up. The meta is going to interrupt us in 40 seconds, so I'm going to mute now. And because this thing's done anyway, I think that's good timing, to be honest. Oh wait, hold on. That Cryptis date predates 510 when the humans brought Cantha. The gods brought humans to Cantha. Hold on. Did it say BE before the Exodus? I interpret that as after the Exodus. It said BE did it. Wow, that's a whole other period of time then, yeah. And also a black spot, which is pretty cool too. That's the kind of stuff, Cottage. I know you asked me in Discord. I don't really know what my response is yet, which is why I haven't properly responded. But that's the kind of thing. It'd be nice to see all that sort of stuff timelined. But it's weird because it's like, how do you curate? How do you decide what is worthy of a fan-curated timeline, you know? I think that's like a whole job. That's like, you have to get a bunch of archivists together, like literally real-life archivists, wiki editors, essentially, and you have to be like, okay, what are the rules? What makes it? What doesn't make it? And I don't know there's a lot to think about there. Maybe you do it based on the source of the information, or... Because you can't just pick like a vague idea of like, okay, what's important? Because, I mean, I don't know. It's really tricky. Everything? I mean, everything is... That's been my classic approach of Let's Plays. But it's not viable at all. Yeah, exactly. You can't do everything. It would get too bloated. So there has to be a curation process. So you have to figure out what the rules of your curation process are. Pretty fun stuff, honestly, but yeah. All right, here we go. Look, Legovo, the Binding of Wills. So this is about the Scepter of Orr. And what's really interesting about this... Oh, never mind. They do say the Scepter of Orr. I was going to say, because I scanned there and I didn't see it, is if you didn't know from the previous information what the Scepter of Orr was, that it was Legovo, then this might go totally over your head. Now, the whole way through these videos, I've been expecting, when we hear about the Scepter of Orr, to hear like some details about it. I thought they would come from Livia, and then I thought they'd come from Livia later, and then I thought they'd come from a book, and so far they haven't. So maybe this is the book that goes into it. So Legovo, now, first of all, the title here is really interesting to me, The Binding of Wills, because, all right, let's close the book for a second. Let's recap while we enjoy this lovely new meta music. The Scepter of Orr and the Staff of the Mists. One of them could manipulate the mists. I'm going to get a lot of this wrong, but this is my memory of it right now, without having done my revision, okay? One of them can, like, manipulate the mists. The other one can, like, manipulate reality. I think that was the idea. And I would assume the Staff of the Mists was the one that could manipulate the mists. Now, Vizier Kilbronn had an army of undead with him. And I believe the suggestion was he used the Scepter of Orr to manipulate them and to get those undead. I believe that was the suggestion. But I think there was a twist. I think within the prophecy's lore, there's a wriggle. And there's a trap. There's like a noob trap about this. Because it might actually be that he didn't use the Scepter of Orr. No, I think I remember now. I think he didn't use the Scepter of Orr to control the undead. I think he just controlled the undead as a lich. I think the only thing he used the Scepter of Orr to control were the Titans. And it's because, and he could control the Titans with the Scepter of Orr because they were spirit. They are spirit. We found out in Nightfall that Titans are like tortured spirits that eventually completely change form, you know, in the Foundry of Failed Creations. That wasn't written in the prophecy stuff, I don't think. I don't think they'd explained any of that. But I'm pretty sure the only thing he was manipulating with the Scepter were the Titans. Why the Titans could be manipulated with the Scepter, maybe the Scepter of Orr could manipulate reality, and Titans were, you know, material things, you know, made of lava and rock. And because the Titans changed form based on where they were. They looked snowy. They had like snowy appearances, and then they had fiery appearances. And if you met them in at the Fire Island chain, if you met them at Maguma, they were very grassy and planty. So they were like of Tyria, kind of. And then but they came from the mist. I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, he was using the Scepter to control the Titans. Possibly the undead as well. But so this is why the subtitle here, The Binding of Wills, is really cool to me straight away, because when I think hastily back to what the Scepter of Orr was doing, it was giving you control over the mists or reality. It also gave you like energy generation, I think it was. But yeah, so I can't remember exactly what they say. Maybe, I mean, we have Costage in chat. Oh, and he's typing. Let's see. Maybe he's got the wiki open. Oh no, people are still talking about timeline stuff. He did use the Scepter to rise his ship. Well, look, he might have used the Scepter as a focus. Like spellcasters use foci or scepters or staves. He may have used it to cast his magic. But whether he was reliant on the Scepter to lift the ship out of the water at Sanctum K, I don't believe that. I don't think that's a power of the Scepter. I think that's just spellcasting. That's just generic spellcasting. I think the actual power of the Scepter, it was definitely the controlling the Titan thing. Because I think with the undead thing, the trick to it, why it's a trap is, he was already using undead to attack. Okay, the Scepter of Orr was lost in Crater, okay, during the time of Guild Wars 1. It was lost somewhere. And he was already using undead to attack Crater in order to find the Scepter. So yes, Crater got attacked by the Char and lost its royal family, got overtaken by cultists who were abducting the population, okay, so it had that issue going on, and then it had this fucking bastard come and start attacking them with undead, alright? Crater was a fucked up place in Guild Wars 1. Both Crater and Ascalon really went through the shit, and the Orions did too, so much so that they got blown up. It was a fun time for humans. There you go, Turtle Emoji says, when, I still love that. I always feel good when you're in chat, because I can always tell at a glance that you're there because you have the emoji in your name. We're brothers like that. Not many people seem to do that. I do that on Steam as well, and it bugs. You like, I have a potato emote, but it bugs in like in-game leaderboards and stuff where they don't know how to, you know, read the emoji chat. Anyway, yeah, when we give the Scepter back to him, he says he can control them due to the Scepter. Oh, he says he can control the undead? You just used a pronoun. What? Control what? Yeah, okay, and also in chat, so another thing, we also know that Livia lived for ages and ages and ages, and she explained, and we saw her with the Scepter in the final cutscene of Prophecy, of Eye of the North, and then in Guild Wars 2, she explained that the Scepter allowed her to do it. So the Scepter has these other, like, ephemeral powers, right? It's obviously, like, it's just a super powerful artifact. It has multiple things it can do. But since this is titled The Binding of Wills, you know. Anyway, I'm curious what went through ArenaNet's head when they came upon this name Legavo. Like I said in the previous part, I don't know if anyone followed up on this. But, you know, I was like, is this like Excalibur? Is this like, you know, something in real life? Or is this a totally new thing that they've invented? The meta cutscene's going to interrupt the lore chat. What meta cutscene? What, in 40 seconds? Time before Operation Mosaic Wrath, guys. Ooh, see, we read all about it. Is Legolas's cousin? I know, I keep looking at it and I'm like, oh, what if it's an acronym, or I just got to rearrange these, you know? Alright, okay, so, since their creation at the hands of my people... Who are your people, first of all? This is going to be a real mind blow here. At the hands of my people, Sidney believed Legavo and Mulmund would be essential in our defense against extraplanar invaders. I once thought as she did, but we were wrong time and time again. Oh, sorry, just time and again. I'm gonna assume this was written by Isgarren, therefore Sidney is another seer. Oh, maybe not, actually. Sidney doesn't have to be a seer. It kind of suggests that maybe they're both seers or whatever. But I think it's revealed that these are seer artifacts. Basically, ArenaNet expanded a lot on the kind of shit that seers did. Anyway, so since their creation at the hands of my... And I just want to say how exciting this is, because we didn't know anything, right? They were just big question marks, that's it. And now there's stuff. So since their creation at the hands of my people, Sidney believed... just to chat, does anyone remember who Sidney is? Sidney referenced anywhere else? Believe... okay, and Mulmund. What the fuck is Mulmund? Well, that's got to be the Staff of the Mists, okay? So again, as a quick recap, the Scepter of Orr is like the main one as far as Guild Wars 1 was concerned. You know, it was a big part of the prophecy story, and then it mysteriously vanished at the end of the prophecy story. The final cutscene, it just disappears. And then in Eye of the North, suddenly we see it again with Livia. It's like the devs are saying, wow, this thing's important. That's all Scepter of Orr, okay? Scepter of Orr, Scepter of Orr, Scepter of Orr, Scepter of Orr. Then there's a little asterisk, and oh hey, by the way, in a side quest in Nightfall, which otherwise had very little to do with the Scepter of Orr. By the way, there's a side quest where you meet some Forgotten, and they tell you about the Staff of the Mist, and they say, hey, this is a twin to the Scepter of Orr, it's really important, we gotta destroy it. And you throw it in like this pit of oblivion or whatever, and apparently that's enough to destroy it. And the Forgotten are like, cool. Okay, so there's two artifacts, the Scepter of Orr, the Staff of the Mist. Now, and you'll notice they both have these generic names, so if you're ArenaNet and you've just named the Scepter of Orr Legavo, well, it's probably worth naming the Staff of the Mist something as well. So Mulmund, I'm guessing, is that. They don't explicitly say that here, but it seems pretty clear to me. And so we still have this idea of two artifacts. That's another thing ArenaNet could have expanded on in theory. They could have said, oh no, there's a third one and there's a fourth one, but no, we kept it the two. God, I gotta keep looking back at chat. Anyone on the Sidney thing? Oh, from Latin legere, present active infinitive of ligo. From Proto-Indo-European legi, which means to bind. Holy shit, it really is a proper name. So it's from Latin. Appropriate, since we're dealing with ancient shit. And it's kind of like an infinitive and to bind. I mean, that's perfect. That's such a good name, Legavo. It kind of speaks to its power and what it can do. I wonder if Livia's been granted eternal life because she's been bound to this plane or something. Kind of like a djinn, you know, she's bound to maybe the staff itself or something. And that's why she's got this, like, long life now. Perhaps she can be controlled by the scepter now, like a Titan could be controlled by the scepter. That would be cool, and that would explain why they kind of suggested it has sentience. Do you guys remember in the other part? She was like standing in front of the door and she was like, oh, the scepter doesn't like it, blah, 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 or whatever. She talked about it as though it has thoughts and feelings. What if I take the Scepter of Orr? Can I control Livia now? Can she be my, oh, what's the word? My waifu? I know that's what a lot of the old Guild Wars 1 nerds were looking for, especially after that skimpy outfit she used to wear. Okay, alright. We're still only one paragraph in here. Hold on, you meet Sidney's ghost in one of these collections. Do you? Ooh. That's really interesting. Okay, so I don't know Sidney, by the way. I'm pretty sure. It looks like a vaguely familiar name to me, but I don't know. I don't think that she's been in the other story. If she has, I've forgotten all about her. I don't even know if it's a woman. I don't know what race it is. I don't know anything about this character, Sydney. Now that's a fanfic. Yeah, I know. Look at all these cool fanfics, but it's just not happening. Nobody did the Fallen Divinity's Reach concept art. I bet if I really wanted to, I could get a bunch. In fact, I think I do have like sexy fan art of Livia, don't I? Like back in the day, I have an archive on my PC of all the fan art anyone's ever made in association with WoodenPotatoes, and I cherish it all dearly. But I'm pretty sure there was like some smutty picture. Was it Livia that was in it? I can't remember. Anyway, let's move on. Maybe it was a niece. It might have been a niece. The Mursaat would eventually ward their armors against the stave's unique magic. Okay, hold on. These things were likely, this doesn't say this, but they were likely created to defend against extraplanar invaders. And then immediately we're talking about the Mursaat. These artifacts versus the Mursaat immediately afterwards, which, if we remember the lore book at the Wizard's Tower explaining that the Mursaat are from Naos, this immediately, this tracks very well. This makes sense. So I guess more emphasis on the idea that the Mursaat are extraplanar invaders. As far as the Seers are concerned, well, let me caveat that. As far as this society is concerned, they're extraplanar invaders worthy of repelling. This may explain the core issue in this Mursaat Seer war, which we'd never really heard about before. Before in Prophecies, it was just this idea that, you know, there were superpowers, and superpowers butt heads. And you know, it was just assumed. But now I think it looks like what ArenaNet's doing is they're saying, okay, the Seers didn't want the Mursaat here. So the question is, why, first of all, because they're not mad that the humans are here. They're extraplanar invaders as well. The humans, especially at the times of the peaks of their civilizations, they've spread, they've caused a lot of damage, they've done dangerous things. But they never drew... I mean, the Seers were kind of gone at that point, maybe, most of them. So the question is, were the Mursaat bastards as soon as they got here? And second of all, so there has to be another detail to their war, right? Second of all, why did the Mursaat come here at all is kind of an extra question. And I guess that if they're from Naos, and it's a demon realm, and we're going to hear that bad things happen at Naos later in the main story, maybe they're refugees. And what right do they have to kick them out at that point, you know? Yes, and he was fine with Forgotten. Yeah, but again, like... And the Forgotten are just like the humans, really. As far as I understand the lore, the Forgotten kind of came along with the humans to help the gods. They were like shepherds of the world. The thing is, it's really tricky, though, because I don't know how much to trust some of the Guild Wars 1 Prophecies manuscript information anymore, and that's like some of the earlier stuff. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going too slow. This is too dry, isn't it? Even for pretty big story enthusiasts, this is probably a bit too slow. The Mursaat would eventually ward their armors against the stave's unique magics. I like this detail as well here because classically in their war, we've heard about the Mursaat with the deadly offensive magic and the Seers ward against it with infusion. It's been in that direction. But now we hear the same process occurring, but in an opposite way. Here we hear the Mursaat are warding against the Seer stuff. The Mursaat would ward their armors against the stave's unique magics. Oh my god, are they essentially going to reveal here? Oh, this is very cool. Alright, okay guys. I'll draw on a map just to give you something visual to look at. Okay, alright. Guild Wars 1. The Fire Island chain has a portal to the Titans, right? The Foundry of Failed Creation. Glint writes a prophecy that the Mursaat are going to get destroyed by Titans pouring out of the portal. And the Mursaat hear this prophecy, and they instantly say, oh shit, we got to go there and protect, well, we got to go there and defend, okay? The Mursaat have an immediate, strong reaction to that, as far as we can tell. Most of this action, it's not like we've seen a cutscene of this happening or anything. But they believe it, is the point. They believe Glint's thing. So they go there, they start getting souls to power their door, killing people, killing people, killing people, killing people. And oh, they've pissed us off. The hero goes on his adventure and opens it. self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, the irony. Beautiful. Okay, there you go. That's the story of Guild Wars 1. In the shortest summation I can possibly give you. I have a lore series if you want to watch it. So, what I'm interested in is the strong reaction. What if the Mursaat were already familiar with the Titans? Now, I think that's fair to suppose. What if they were already familiar with the Titans? Now, if they were already familiar with the Titans, why? Well, maybe, and here's where it all comes together, maybe the Seers had previously used Titans against the Mursaat. What if the Seers made Legavo and Mulmund, tried to manipulate the Mursaat, which is also a cool as fuck story, since the Mursaat are the manipulators as far as we know, you know. But here we have the Seers manipulating them. They ward their armor against that. So the Seers say, alright, fuck you. We are going to get demons, and we're going to manipulate them with the Scepter. And the demons are the Titans. So, in the previous war, the Seers used Titans, controlled by these artifacts, to fuck up the Mursaat. The Mursaat slowly win, whatever, they managed to come back. Years later, Glint writes in the Flameseeker prophecies, the Titans will come back, they'll be released. And so the Mursaat are like, oh shit, well, we got to stop that. So that's the story. So, look, that's what this line made me think of here. What if that's what this is saying? That in the that's why these artifacts are here, really. Well, what they were used for before. The Seers had manipulated Titans with them in the past once they stopped doing that. There you go. What tipped me off to think that? I don't know, something in the sentence. We spent too long on this sentence! Okay, I'm moving on. The Mursaat would eventually ward their armors against the Stave's unique magics well before they became known as the Scepter of Orr and the Staff of the Mist. Eventually, the gods and their servants came, unabated and unhindered. It was clear that the Staves were not the miracles that we thought they were. Do you know what's another cool twist about this as well? What if the Titan... Okay, remember I said that the Mursaat might be refugees from Naos? They might have been kicked out by demons. They're vulnerable to demons. And Titans, they're not from Naos. Okay, Titans are weird, right? Because Abaddon was making Titans. He was cooking Titans. He was creating his own within the Foundry of Failed Creations. Now, the Foundry of Failed Creations is just a little area of the Realm of Torment, okay? Which was Abaddon's prison. It's not Naos. It's not the Realm of Dreams. It's the Realm of Torment, okay? And then once Cormyr takes over, it becomes the Redeemed Realm. And then we visited it very briefly in Guild Wars 2 when we went to the library, okay? So anyway, this realm was cooking up some Titans in the Foundry. But, you know, what if those Titans, therefore, and then that's the other side of the door of Kamali, they pop out of this, they attack everyone, right? That's those. They're Abaddon's Titans, okay? Foundry Titans. And I speculated this years ago. You can actually, I swear to fucking God, right? You can go back to my Guild Wars 1 Nightfall playthrough. You can go to the bit where I'm at the Foundry of Failed Creations, and you can listen to that little boy in the microphone, and he'll say, oh, I wonder if you can make... The Foundry basically just says, you know, you torture a soul long enough or whatever, in a specific way, it'll become a Titan. So Titans don't exclusively have to come from the Foundry. What if there are other sources of Titans in other realms? So what if Naos has its own variety of Titan? Maybe not even from Foundries, maybe they're naturally occurring within Naos. And they kick the Mursaat out, so the Mursaat leave. They become extraplanar invaders. They butt heads with the Mursaat. They go to war. With the Seers, sorry. They go to war. The Seers try to manipulate them. Realise it doesn't work. So then the Seers say, well, what will fuck up these guys? Hold on. Didn't they just run away from Titans in Naos? Okay, let's use our staff to manipulate those and bring them in. And so on and so on and so on. Wouldn't that all work? That would be quite cool. Because then, essentially, what that would mean is next patch, we might see Titans in Naos. I'm too deep, aren't I? None of this is going to happen. I'm too deep. This is just fan fiction at this point. Let's move on. Because they move on. I mean, shit, this whole document could be about that. But if we go on to talk about other stuff. So, they use the Scepter of Orr and the Staff of the Mists against extraplanar invaders. I mean, I think it's interesting as well that this story is about, like, you know, on a broader level, this expansion story is about, like, possession. Oh, here we go. Oh, spoilers. That's the monster from Meta 2. We will get there, guys. Don't worry. Pretty cool. This story is about, yeah, and this is really goofy. What do you guys think of this? The people I've been playing the game with have laughed at this. Kerry laughed at this. Thought it looked really goofy. But yeah, okay, alright. The broader story here is about manipulation, right? It's about Paether and Ceres and Eparch. They are possessors. They cause you to lose your mind. They mind control you. They are from the mists that are slanted towards this whole mind control thing. And now here we have these two artifacts used to protect against mist entities, extraplanar invaders, that again are manipulators. It's kind of like the Scepter of Orr and the Staff of the Mists tap into what the demons do. Or because the demons can do this, they exploit that vulnerability in some way. And in this way, they can manipulate the demons themselves. I think that that's a really good idea of what these artifacts actually are. It's like, okay, we make these artifacts so that we stop getting possessed by demons. Instead, we possess them. Now we can control the Titans. Now we can do whatever. But if that's all true, why wouldn't they then use that in this current invasion? You know, Livia just has the scepter locked behind a door. What if the scepter itself was possessed? So it's unreliable now. And the Staff of the Mist was destroyed but in Nightfall by Forgotten. What did they say about it? Were they scared of Abaddon getting it? I think that's all it was, wasn't it? Wasn't it just that Abaddon... And again, Abaddon was creating, like, torment demons and shit? Man, Nightfall had such a cool progression, you know? You'd fight pirates, and then you'd fight, like, soldiers, the Cornans, and then you'd fight strong soldiers, and then they'd have a couple of Marganites with them, and then you'd be fighting entire battalions of Marganites, and then the Marganites would be mixed in with torment demons, and then finally you're fighting just pure torment demons. So it was such a good, like, step up in Nightfall. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm not actually trying to, this is not a, I'm not doing this on purpose. Eventually the gods and their servants came, unabated, unhindered, so we couldn't manipulate them with the relics, is my reading of this. It was clear that the staves were not the miracles we thought they were. I lost track of them after I left to form the wizard's court, only to later learn that one of our own had delivered them to the gods in Ra, rather than see them fall into Mursaat hands. So this is written by Isgarren, because this is someone saying that they founded the wizard's court. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but that is the case, right? Like, I know Isgarren's the leader, without a doubt. He's also the founder, you know, because that doesn't necessarily have to be true, but he is the founder, isn't he? He founded the court. I'm sure we read that detail somewhere. Map closes in 2 minutes, that's true, but I'm sure I can just pop back here, can't I? So, it's a shame, but since they're being pretty blatant about it, it would have been nice if they tagged it with his name here. Okay, and so if it is definitely Isgarren, then these were made by Seers, and it's still everything I've said works. Because everything I said just now is predicated on the idea that it was made by Seers. It was. So, so a Seer... So he lost track of them when making the wizard's court, and another Seer gave them to the gods, rather than see them fall into Mursaat hands. I mean, that's an amazing story as well, isn't it? You're a Seer. You make these artifacts to fend off against extraplanar invaders. It works against the first set of extraplanar invaders, the Mursaat, to a degree, though they're still around. Another set of extraplanar invaders, the gods, comes. It doesn't work on them at all. And these things were made to stop this shit, and you end up giving it to the gods. Purely because you hate the original extraplanar invaders that much. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Even if they were also my enemy. That's a cool story, you know? There's a cool beat there. So who's this Seer that did this? Who made this incredible decision? How did the gods react to that? I would love to see that, you know? Oh, I could have clicked yes to change map? I suppose so. I think it would just put me next to the book, won't it? Worst case, we'll go to the waypoint. Alright, we're at the waypoint. Actually, we're at the original waypoint. You just cost me 1 silver 30 copper, Arena Net. Do you know how hard I had to work for that 1 silver 30 copper? Okay. Where was the entrance? Over here? Yeah. Okay. I lost track of them after I left to form the Wizard's Court, only to later learn that one of our own had delivered them to the gods in Ra, rather than see them... I like this detail of gods in Ra, by the way. It's like he doesn't want to call them the human gods. And it's like... It's also like maybe he's open to the idea there are other gods, air quotes, because, I mean, at some point you realise... God is a description rather than a de facto thing, right? So, you know, to the Grawl, there may be gods all over the place. There aren't just gods in Ra. There's gods of this and gods of that, and there's gods. So he says the gods in Ra, you know? Rather than see them fall into Mursaat hands. Of course, the Six were suspicious and bestowed the... See, this is a bit weird. The gods were suspicious and bestowed the staves... on a pair of mortal rulers of distant nations, likely as some form of test. Okay, the results were disastrous. I thought to intervene, but the court was still young. I did not wish to draw the ire of the Six so soon. I am a little bit scared that the studio fucked up here. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't. But just empty your minds of everything we're currently talking about. Empty them, okay? Now, so we're not in Su2, we're not talking about the Scepter of Orr, the Start of the Mist, or anything like that. We're just talking about Guild Wars, okay? Empty your minds. Now, there's a story in Guild Wars, guys, of the gods with these 2 great artifacts from Orr. And they bestow them upon mortal leaders. And disaster strikes later. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? What am I talking about? I'm talking about the Foe Fire. And it kind of makes me think that they're talking about Sir Hawthorne and Magdea here. Which is not the same, but I mean, or maybe, you know, maybe they didn't fuck up, you know, Echo doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. Just a coincidence. You know, I've got more than enough faith and trust at the moment within me to say that it's just a coincidence. But okay, the Six... I don't know how does this work? The Six are suspicious of these 2 artifacts. So they give them to the humans? Is this just another subtle way of jabbing at the gods? And saying that they're pricks and that they were, you know, foolish and that they were wanton? And I'm totally fine with that characterization, particularly coming from Isgarren, but I'm fine with it just even as a de facto thing, because it makes Abaddon the good guy, you know? Because the whole thing with the gods is like, yeah, let's crack over the blood, open the bloodstone, yeah, let's give all the gods to the human, let's give all the magic to the humans, let's see what's going, wee. That's like the story, and Abaddon says no, so they go to war. And in Guild Wars 1, that's framed as Abaddon's the bad guy, because... we like magic and we want them to have magic, but maybe Abaddon saw the bigger picture, you know. Maybe Abaddon even saw rumbles of the dragon cycle and all that kind of stuff, you know. Details which I wish had made it into the Elder Dragon story, ultimately didn't really. Of course, by the time we see Abaddon in Guild Wars 1, he's gone crazy from being in prison, and he is definitely a bad guy, but that initial conflict between them, it kind of makes him the, you know, he's just an outsider, he's just a guy with a different idea, and... you know, maybe the Seers like Abaddon. You know, maybe they're like, you know what, this fucking guy didn't want to fuck with my bloodstone. I like Abaddon. That would be so cool. Wouldn't it be amazing to go speak to Isgarren in, like, the next patch and be like, hey, dude, what do you think of Abaddon? He's like, yeah, that guy was a bro. I would love that. You know, written a little bit more eloquently, let's say. But, oh, wait, yeah, hold on. Did I just fucking reverse that in my head? Yeah, I got it backwards. Damn, that's crazy. How did I get that completely backwards? Yeah, no, Abaddon wanted to give them the magic. Oh, yeah. No. I think they all did it. And then after the wars broke out, Abaddon was saying, no, let them keep it. That was the story. And the other gods said, no, we're sealing it away. Yeah. Yeah, so that doesn't work. I can't believe I just managed to completely flip that. Hand in my lore card, I'm ejected. I know, that's crazy. Well, there you go. That's good. That's why we have a live chat for you guys to correct me. There are things I really like about doing these live, and there are things that I really don't like about doing these live. One of the things I do like is you can get corrected on the fly. Because if this was just an LP that I recorded first and just uploaded, it's just been a bomb of misinformation. And I would, even editing, I wouldn't have thought, hold on, have I got that reversed? Yeah, other races as well. Yeah, exactly. And they were always unclear about that. Yeah, of course, yeah. Because Guild Wars 1 was very human-centric, and then they started to expand later. Alright, okay, anyway, let's move on. Let's see if we can get to page 2. Yeah, I don't know. Back to this thing. The 6 are suspicious, and they give the staves to mortal rulers. Like they're likely as some form of test. So they use humans as guinea pigs, as far as Isgarren sees it. The results were disastrous. So what were the results? And he's not talking about the Guild Wars 1 issues with the Scepter of Orr, okay? Because he says, I thought to intervene, but the court was still young, okay? Didn't we just get a date a second ago of 600 BC? Fuck me. BE. Didn't we just get a date of like 650 BE? And he's already ruling the court. Isn't the court already established in that date we had a second ago? Obviously, it's not that we're post the god's arrival here, so we're not going to be that early anyway. But he's still calling the court young that many years later? BC, that's another demerit. Demerit. Hold on, why did you just say demerit? That's an office thing. It's interesting though that he calls the court young around when the gods were here. I think that's something that can maybe give me something of a sense of when the court was established. WP, predictably, those who wielded their power were corrupted. Terrible horrors were unleashed upon the lands once guarded by their benevolent powers. That's a quote from the quest The Hallowed Point. Ah, that's quite cool. That's nice. Yeah, okay, so just to bring everyone in the fold here, again, I've been mentioning that Nightfall side quest where you destroy the Staff of the Mists. Obviously, you speak to a Forgotten there, who justifies why you're destroying it. And Cossage just gave us a quote. That Forgotten refers to some history with it. Those who wielded their power were corrupted. Terrible horrors were unleashed upon the lands once guarded by their benevolent power. That's the quote from the Nightfall quest. So that's probably what Isgarren is also referring to here. That's really good. That all lines up. Horrors. So who's the pair of rulers, though? The devs have been quite concrete here, haven't they? They've said there is a pair of rulers with these two artifacts. It's very much a Magdeus or Hawthorne kind of situation. Defeat the rampaging museum exhibits. Oh, guys, look, I'm telling you, we got a library here, and then we have a fucking, like, natural history museum up here. Seriously. You can see so much cool shit. It's unreal. Alright, so we don't know this story, but again, like, this is a thing. I would love a timeline. You see, this would be on the timeline for me. It would be, you know, as close as we can get to the year. Approximate or whatever, and it would be a pair of rulers with these artifacts, human rulers, possibly given because of from the gods, possibly as a test, unleashed horrors, blah blah blah. I don't know though. It's so difficult because you know what is fact. Anyway, I thought to intervene, but the court was still young. I did not wish to draw the ire of the 6 so soon. This so soon is quite interesting as well. Like he always knew that they were going to butt heads. Do you know what's a weird thought? Did the Six ever come here? Do you guys ever wonder that? Were the Six ever at Amnitas? Were the Six ever at the Wizard's Tower? You know, never in my wildest dreams, before this came out, when we were looking at, like, Garenhof, would I have thought the story would be so fucking crazy that the gods could potentially have parlayed there once upon a time. These rulers were severely punished. And the staves... So the humans got punished for it. Oh, okay. Wait. The staves were given to a pair of mortal rulers of distant nations, likely as some form of test. My reading of that just now was that the gods wanted to test the artifacts they were suspicious of, so they gave them to humans as guinea pigs. But actually, I think the way we're meant to read this, actually, is... No, the gods wanted to test the humans, so they gave them great artifacts to see what they would do with them. It's still a dick move if they themselves are suspicious of those same artifacts. It's just very gross and judgy, really, isn't it? But there you go. So I think that's the idea. They failed the test because of these horrors and the wars or whatever. The staves were sealed in their tombs. This is quite cool. In some ways it's cool. Okay, so in Guild Wars 1, Vizier Kilbronn recovers the Scepter of Orr from a tomb. So what ArenaNet have said here is they've told us whose tomb that was. It was this ancient ruler, this ancient human ruler. He was Crichton, I suppose. And the other ruler was what? Elonan? Kryta v Elona? There was a thing about Kryta x Elona. Something about, like the lions from Lion's Arch. Those lions were imported in ancient days from Elona or something. Because where was the Staff of the Mist's tomb? Did we recover that in that Forgotten quest? I think we did, right? It was near where Abaddon fell. It was near the Realm of Torment, the ruins of Moira. So what ArenaNet have done is they've given us background now on that tomb, and that's great. I love that. The bit where I just said, oh, it's kind of not great, is I kind of want there to be more history. You know, I don't want it to just be, oh, there was this one thing, and then the story's over until the tomb. But at the same time, you know, allow them to close some doors. All right, look, this is the full story of the Scepter of Orr, right? Here it is. Made by the Seers. Lost track, question mark. Maybe there's some story to tell there. Gods got it, gave it to humans, they fucked with them, got buried in the tomb, and now here we are. After the Exodus, I sought them out, only to find the tombs barren, picked clean. Oh no, I'm wrong. Unsurprising, but concerning. But in Guild Wars 1, Kilbronn did get it from a tomb, didn't he? It's like a side. It's like okay. So in Prophecies, you get these cutscenes, and they're like flash sideways. You know, you'll see what the Lich is up to. Basically, you'll just be doing your adventure as an Ascalon refugee. Blah 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 blah. Ascalon, and then suddenly you'll be watching a cutscene of a Lich somewhere or Kilbronn doing stuff, and it's like, what the fuck is going on here? And then it's only way later you realise, oh, he's the big bad guy, and so on. But I swear there's a cutscene where you see he gets the scepter, and there's like some throwaway dialogue that he got from a tomb or something. I'm sure there was. Okay, but they're saying they got thrown in tombs. After the Exodus, Isgarren goes to look for them, but the tombs are barren. They've been picked clean. Unsurprising, but concerning. Maybe you shouldn't have disconnected so much, Isgarren. Maybe you should have got to move on. Centuries passed before Legavo surfaced again in the hands of a Lich, the one responsible for the drowning of Orr. So remember that Kilbronn reads from Abaddon's Forbidden Scrolls or whatever, sinks the whole continent, killing all the Char, turns into a Lich, and then goes on a quest for the Scepter of Orr, which is where we meet him in Guild Wars 1. The one responsible for the drowning of Orr. Kilbronn flung wide the door of Kamali. The other wizards beseeched me to act, but before I could, the Vizier was already slain. See, look at this, over and over and over again. I don't know how many times they can do this. This is what Secrets of the Obscure is, in a nutshell. I was going to act, but then it solved itself. I was going to act, but then it solved itself. And I was going to act, but then it solved itself. Every single time you read that, this must be, what, the 6th or 7th time? I mean, it's an ass pull. Every single time. Alright, he was already slain. Wow. Who did that, I wonder? We scoured the vault. Okay, here's the bit. This is like... We're moving into a new era now, guys. I just want you to understand, alright? For years. For years now, alright? You've turned on a WoodenPotatoes video. And WoodenPotatoes has said,
oh my god, there's this amazing mystery. And it's the, you know, the Scepter of Orr, right? At the end of Prophecies, the Scepter of Orr disappears in the cutscene. Ah!
How many times have I mentioned that? I mean, really, it's beyond a joke, right? You couldn't even play a drinking game of this. You'd be blasted, right?
It disappeared, and it's crazy, because why did they do that? The cutscene lingers on the scepter, and then it disappears. And we don't know why. Is the scepter sentient? What's the story there?
Alright, that's WoodenPotatoes for years. You won't hear me talking about that anymore. Now, I want to be clear. I've never read anyone on a forum geeking out about that, or on Reddit geeking out about that. Hell, even in my own video comments, alright, I get very little response for that. And I think most people just look at that and they're like, well, who gives a fuck? It's one shot in a cutscene, alright? It's Prophecies. They were probably just padding the cutscene a little bit. It doesn't have to mean anything. But to be fair, then they did bring the Scepter of Orr back with Livia at the end of Eye of the North, right? So it does feel like they were leading something. But that specific bit in the Prophecies cutscene, I mean, why did the scepter disappear? Because what happens in the story, guys, is we kill Rurik again, animated Rurik. We kill Kilbronn. All the Mursaat are dead. The Titans are dead, and others have scattered through the portal. The volcano is erupting. Everyone's just bailed out. There's no one there anymore. It's just that the Hawthorne is left on the floor, and the Scepter of Orr is left on the floor. Do we get a shot of Hawthorne and how eventually that got into Ritlock's hands? You know, was that... No, they didn't show... They gave us one shot, and it's of the Scepter of Orr disappearing. And I've always looked at that and been like, that's really crazy. Like, they clearly have more story to tell us. And how did it get out in the end? How did it get out? Well, the answer is now. Welcome to a new era. Kilbronn flung wide the door of Kamali. The other wizards beseeched me to act, but before I could, the vizier was already slain. We scoured the volcanic islands, but the Scepter of Orr was nowhere to be found. Likely shunted away by the Lich with his final whispers. There you have it. Shunted away by Kilbronn. I just drank some coffee synchronized with Liz there. She's gone quick. Jesus Christ. She drinks way too quick. You get through a cup so fast like that. There you go. And I know this is Isgarren's supposition. It's not necessarily true. They could bring the mystery back if they like. But my reading of this is them saying, you know what, shut up about that now. It's okay. He moved it. Alright? It was Kilbronn. And actually I kind of like the answer. Let's take this as a real answer. And I like this as an answer because it kind of shows Kilbronn cared about something greater than himself or than his priority villainous ambitions. He's fucked. He's lost it. He screwed the pooch. It's over, baby. Game over. Game over. And yet he still thinks to himself, I gotta get that scepter out, man. Someone else should have that. This should continue to impact the world, whatever. I mean, maybe that he does it for selfish reasons that I can't quite interpret right now. But, you know, he teleports it away. I never watched that cutscene and read that as, oh, the Vizier did this. Maybe that was always obvious to some people. Maybe the devs themselves always just saw that cutscene or made that cutscene and thought, well, it's clear that the Vizier did it. It's not really. But there you go. So it got teleported away. And, you know, the answer almost doesn't matter. It's the fact we're talking about it, man. We're talking about this shit. You know what? I gave up hopes probably somewhere around Season 3 that any of this would ever come up ever again. And here we are. I mean, it's cool, isn't it? So, happy moment for me. The future is now, old man. You say it being about the same age as me. I know. Well, there you go. Some years after, word of Molman's destruction reached my halls. You know, the devs have got something really tricky, the writers have got something really tricky to do here, where they have to keep referring to stuff that the Guild Wars 1 hero did, without mentioning his name, or the connection there. Because, you know, in theory, they might have been separate heroes. There might have been a Prophecies hero, and a Factions hero, and a Nightfall hero. You know, and they can't refer to the gender, they can't really talk about it. So here they talk about, you know, Vizier Kilbronn. Oh, he was the guy that sunk Orr as well, by the way. They can talk about his two things. You can't do it with the Guild Wars 1 hero. And for another reason you can't do it with the Guild Wars 1 hero, which is just that it would strain credulity that there was this one guy that did so much shit. It'd be like, oh, that guy did it. Oh, and he did this as well, and he did this as well, and he did this as well, and he did this as well. Because it's not even just main campaign stories we're talking about here. It's side quests as well, you know. This is a side quest, a hidden side quest. Well, I say hidden, there's a side quest. Anyway, so they keep it vague. Some years after, word of Molman's destruction reached my halls. It was a rumour floated up through Mabon's eccentric... Do you know what might have been cool, actually? Is if in somewhere in Secrets of the Obscure, there was a room dedicated to the Guild Wars 1 hero. Because, you know, in Guild Wars 2, we hear a lot about how the commander's kind of famous among these people. You know, Mabon's like, what did the story journal say? Like, that Mabon was like, oh shit, it's this, oh my god, it's the commander. You know, we're famous, right? Because they watch and they learn and they understand what's going on. The same will have happened for the Guild Wars 1 hero as well. So, you know, it's just it's a commander again, and they would have loved that character, and they would have been studying that character. And it would have been actually kind of interesting to see, like, one of these bastions or a room in the library is just all about their exploits. Do you know what would have been even more amazing? If they did that, and then also they had a little something in there, and it's vague, and it's for you to believe if you want. You know, it's not, they don't declare anything, but they kind of suggest that maybe the Guild Wars 1 commander joined the court, and that's why they disappear out of the history books afterwards. And you can imagine maybe that they lived out the rest of their days with these guys. But you would do it in such a way that it's not definite, you know. People can believe what they want to believe. But a little hint about that would have been so cool. Anyway, we scoured the volcanic islands, but the Scepter of Orr was nowhere to be found, likely shunted away by the Lich with his final whispers. Some years after Molman's destruction reached my halls, a rumour floated up through Mabon's eccentric little network of mesmers. No, we just go all over the fucking place here. Mabon's eccentric little network of mesmers that a Shining Blade exemplar had found and possessed the scepter for decades. Oh, hold on. We're on two different subjects there. Okay, hold the fuck on. So we don't really have anything to say about Molman, but... So, is the Mesmer Collective a Mabon project? I hadn't really recognised that last time I read this. Hold on, we talking about the same society that Casimir went to for advice to bring down the veil around the Tower of Nightmares and all that? We're talking about those guys, right? The Mesmer Collective. The guys from the Extra Life quest. Those guys, that's Mabon's group. That's very cool, to have a manipulator race like the Mursaat. You got Mabon, and I know he's different now, but in some ways he's the same. And so he founds them. And he founded them way back during Guild Wars 1's time. Yeah, okay, and Kostic says in chat, it seems like Oberyn, that potential Djinn who saved Barradin, Lady Barradin, from the Mursaat near the Wizard's Tower, that might have been just Mabon in disguise. Did they actually explain that anywhere in Sutu? Because that's kind of one of the mysteries from the Extra Life quest that I've been curious about. Seems to be, but they may not be aware of the court. Yeah, I think that's really cool as well. That's like some spy shit, you know. You make a spy organization controlled by another organization, and they're not privy to the people above them. I like that. Not that necessarily the Mesmer Collective are spies, but you get what I mean. Eccentric little network. He's a bit demeaning about it there, isn't he? Ooh, look at your eccentric little network. Okay, so, Livia is the Shining Blade exemplar. She has found and possessed the scepter for decades. That's quite cool as well. There's a story there as well, because Livia wouldn't go around just telling anyone that information. So she's got the scepter for decades. It takes decades for people to realise. And at that, the only way they realise is through a network of mesmers glamouring themselves, hiding, sneaking around. And then it trickles up to Mabon. So finally, this time I made a point to settle the issue in person. Livia was rather unmoved by my presence. Unsurprising in hindsight, given that the Shining Blade were the recipients of more than one of our artifacts. So there he's talking about the Shining Blade, you know, the legendary sword that you can get. That was another little thing from Season 3. They sort of popped in there. They said that the Shining Blade had a real blade. It was made by the Seers, if you guys remember all of that. Which as well is a cool detail to include here, I guess. I can't believe how many different fucking areas of the lore this one thing goes in. Unsurprising in hindsight, given the Shining Blade were the recipients of more than one of our artifacts. For Legavo, I offered her a title and access to the tower and to Amnitas. She was indifferent to the role of Wayfinder, but she offered to make herself available for any problems that might threaten the Crichton throne. I found Livia's terms satisfactory. Finally, I could seal this regretful chapter of my kind behind closed doors. And that's literally where it is. It's behind that closed door in the Wizard's Tower now. And it's not really over because Livia's still fucking snooping around at that door. And what did she say? Didn't she, like, suggest she can go and get it back? Also, didn't she say... I swear, didn't I read that... I thought I read that Isgarren helped her get the artifact in the first place, but maybe that's... Maybe I was just reading this too fast before, because they're clearly talking about the Shining Blade. She was unmoved by my presence, i.e. she's been around other Seers. They were recipients of more than one of our artifacts. What other artifacts? I'd love to know what Isgarren thinks about Zin, by the way. For dissecting the body of one of the last Seers. Do you know what? If I was ArenaNet and I was writing all this shit, I think I would be very careful to talk about the last Seers. Like, they'd all have names, and they'd all have ideas of what they did and who they were. Like, who exactly was that? Name the Seer that you meet in Guild Wars 1, alright? Name that guy. Is that Sidney? Alright, and tell me, was it the same guy over and over and over again, or was it a separate guy? Name the guy that Zin was dissecting in Guild Wars 1, dead in Kryta. Tell me how that guy died. I would really want to know very specifically there. Maybe like the last 4 or 5 Seers. Is Isgarren the last one alive? Did they say that? I can't even remember. They said Mabon is the last Mursaat. But I feel like they've explained so much more about what the Seers are doing and who they are that's all detail I'm now extremely keen on. So there you go. So Livia's like us. She gets Wayfinder. She's allowed here. The Scepter's back there. I've fallen in love with my own ideas about the Scepter there and the controlling of the Titans and all that shit. And this document, the unfortunate thing is, this document doesn't actually say any of that. The thing is, everything I said lines up. Unless I've just flipped some stuff in my head like I did with the Abaddon thing just now, but I don't think I have. Anyway, there you go. That's the first book of the library. And believe it or not, I know we just chatted for what a weird icon. Okay, usually when you see an icon like that, it's because it's been inherited from Guild Wars 1 and it's sized wrong. Piece of evidence. We can just give it to him? I mean, do nothing, maybe? What? This is so weird. Why have I got a skill saying do nothing that literally does nothing? I don't know what's going on there. It's just a stack of books. Alright. I'm gonna finish... I'm gonna proc contribution for this quest, if I can. Tampering is evident. I'm gonna do this because I don't know whether there's an achievement, you know, eternal shenanigans of the library or whatever. So I may as well. Also, a bit of mastery point. Oh, by the way, there was something I forgot at the end of the last part. We need to go on a ley line and just spin in circles on it for ages. Okay, so let's just check the ground floor fully. Yeah, believe it or not, despite the fact we just spent ages on that book, when I first came to this library, and I didn't check it that close, but I kind of wanted a lot more. Because I swear, when you'll see, like, I don't think there is another book on the ground floor here. Oh, there's a champion avatar of gluttony. We need to start scanning rifts. I think you have to go quite high in here to see more books or something. I'll have a look in a second. So he's got the shield, so we just have to super melee him for this. Man, I should get some boon rip for this expert. Look at that shit. If they're not doing any more elite specs, they should really look to add some of those niches now. Which elite spec is most deserving of boon rip, do you guys think? For Ellie, specifically. Either Weaver or Catalyst. Maybe Weaver. Just in terms of like efficacy at the moment, that feels somewhat fun. I need more stun breaks. We got to get rid of Signet of Fire. Can put on a Arcane Shield or something. Kata feels kind of good with it though. I don't know, something about the whole Celestial theme and boon access, and I don't know. Ellie's just generally big on the boon stuff. I mean, realistically, I'd love a new spec that does that. That's why, again, I think it was such a load of shit for them to say, oh, we're running out of niches now. You're not running out of niches. You can invent any number of niches, and you still got a bunch still in there. You know, there's no stealth on Ellie and shit at the moment as well. You just re-emphasize niches that currently are just overperforming, like might generators and shit like that. Alright, okay. Let's put the dialogue back on since the meta's not going on.
That's exactly what it wants.
You mustn't despair. Welcome, stranger, to the most extraordinary collection of knowledge and information within the bounds of Tyria. Within the bounds of Tyria. Always leave that space for something bigger and better. It's always good. This is the foremost leading repository of all information. Oh, I mean, come on. The Priory Archives, though. I guess they just have, like, ticky-tacky bullshit info, right? What do? I'm currently trying to uncover evidence of tampering. The information stored here in the wrong hands. Oh my god, that event's not up again, is it? No. Who's Reginald McGeniald? Who the fuck is that? An old soul from a distant land. And why am I asking about who that is? An old soul from a distant land, though lately he's been a bit touchy. I found him talking to himself multiple times. A distant land. You suspect some of the workers here are possessed? Of course, no bastion is free of possessed members. The trouble now is finding them. The trouble now is finding them. We suspect that they're stealing information about Tyria from the library. Is Reginald just an NPC I can speak to here? Check it out. We got a Coden. Stalwart Heart. It's the head archivist. Okay. So that's the NPCs on the ground floor. And as far as I can tell, you got the one book. And a hell of a book it was, so that's all good. Right. Next floor. Nothing interactable here. None of these guys want to talk. I like the layout here with like the quarters. Nothing interactable here. It'd be so good if you could just, like, there was a hidden thing, you know, when there's no text, but you can still press F, and you like slide a book in, and there's a hidden room. Here's Brocker, who we spoke to before. Welcome, stranger. Yeah, okay. Nothing here. Okay, but we do have this, Cardinal Blue. So this is another strategic scenario response proposal. This one's called Cardinal Blue. The scenario for this is the assassination of an enemy target. How are we going to assassinate someone? So this is a raid based on pinpoint assault tactics using portal technology in combination with fire-based magic and or weaponry. The primary risk factor here is that the portal might hiccup, blowback resulting in friendly fire casualties. We already read this. This was in the first map. Lazy referring to that explosion as a hiccups insensitive. Yeah, we already read that one. I don't know why that's here again. So then we have these little areas here. Guys, this is like we get to explore the Tyrian equivalent of, you know, the Great Library of Alexandria. Does anyone know if there's any fiction? Oh, no, no one would have written a story. Well, there's not a story in that. It'd be really interesting to wonder about, like, an Elseworld Earth story where that information wasn't lost. And, oh, it turns out, I don't know, ABC, somehow. I mean, where do you go with the story after that? But I love, it's such a sad part of our story here as humans on Earth, society on Earth. All that shit was lost. Here we got Archivist Haj. Hello. Whoever thought that flying books were a good idea needs to be put in the dungeon. Oh yeah? Yeah, completely unnecessary, I say. What good's a book if I must catch it to read it? I tried performing a behavioural enchantment, but no luck? None. I think they're rebelling now too. Worthless, stuffy little... Alright, I'll leave you to the book bourgeois. This is so good. The book bourgeois. I appear to have lost the ability to speak. Alright, and then we get the upper level, so you know other books. But here there's some. And there's really nowhere else to go. That story isn't in the tower, as we can't easily return, so they get spread out. Oh, I see. So if there's something in an instant, and you can't easily find it again, they put it in the open world.
Next book I catch will be scorched in Balthazar's name. I got one!
Oh, he's so happy he got one. That's cool. I've never listened to these guys speak. Cottage mentioning the Nameless Lich in Guild Wars 1 as well. Yeah, you know, I was curious about that. I don't know if I talked about it on the video in the end. I mentioned Drox Light a billion times in like the first couple of parts. We got there and I never talked about it. There's a really weird, like, late-in-the-day mystery put in by the Guild Wars 1 live team in Guild Wars 1 where a mysterious Lich appeared at Droknar's Forge. And Liches in Guild Wars lore are really, you know, they're kind of special, right? There's not many. How they become Liches isn't clearly expressed or talked about. There's a lot going on, and especially Guild Wars 2 really went big and awesome with, like, the Joko stuff. You know, I know we all wanted more story with him, and we wanted more time as him as the Despot and stuff, but, like, just this idea of, like, he cannot die. You know, even the legend of him doesn't die. And now he's kind of back again, because it's very, very cool. So Liches are, like, big. They're big deals. And here we're hearing a lot about Kilbronn, of course, but there was another Lich, you know. There was this mysterious Lich. My theory about it, if you actually look at the Lich, it was wearing like a gem store outfit. Guild Wars 1 had an outfit system late in the day. You know, a way of getting a bit of microtransaction money in the way up to Guild Wars 2. And my theory about it is that it was just put in there as a teaser for that gem store outfit, or it was going to be some minor thing with Halloween. The weird thing is, though, why did they put it at Droknar's Forge? Because they're at that, you know, you would have put it at Camadan, or you would have put it at Lion's Arch, or in the Battle Isles, or something. It was really weird. It's just a random NPC, and I can't remember what happens when you click them. I think they just say something like, I don't know, they might not even have any dialogue, or something just stupidly cryptic, like "now is not the time," or something like that, and that's it. There's just no story. It's like, why would there be a Lich here? Who are they? So the idea of other Liches is kind of fascinating all on its own, and then you realise there's this other mystery. You know, for a long time I wanted to do a series of mini-mysteries, like Guild Wars 2 mini-mysteries, where I just talk about random little shit like that. But I don't know, I'm just not confident in short-form work, I'm just not. So yeah, it would have been such a good candidate, and I don't know though, maybe there is an event or something here, where... You know, maybe this fractal... I don't know. Maybe they pop up for a second. But yeah, that's another good one. Again, going back to that Futurama conversation, they don't have to reference every single little thing. And some mysteries, I'm sure, will die. But... Alright, binding the nets of Sidereal. So, A. Hawthorne again. Oh, who was Hawthorne? So we're in the year 719 after the Exodus. So we're like, we were talked about this time period before. I think we've read something Hawthorne's done before, and it was around this date. We're like 400 years before Guild Wars 1 here. 300 years, somewhere around there. Mentioning Futurama, did they bring the VA of Bender back? Yeah, John DiMaggio is doing Bender in it, yeah. I remember there was a little bit of a wobble about that early on, wasn't there? But no, he is. It's the whole original cast. Billy West is Fry. There's a bit... People have been kind of mean about it online. It seems like they're writing less Fry in it, just because Billy's recording voice for like a 30-year-old guy, but he himself, isn't he in his 80s now? And he does an amazing job, man. He really does. He does not, to me, sound overly gravelly or anything, but he sounds a little bit more gravelly than he used to. And people are like talking about it. So I think that they're like writing less Fry into the episodes or something. Hawthorne was writing the history of the Wizard's Court books. Okay. And it was all around this time, right? We don't know anything else about Hawthorne. Hawthorne's a cool name. I like that name. Might steal that for my own little work. I also kind of like the idea of the name Chariot as someone's second name. Chariot. And maybe their nickname is Riot. It's like kind of a villainous character. I quite like that too. You haven't noticed the voice differences, but it's months since you've watched old Futurama. Yeah, I think it's more of if you do an A-B kind of comparison. If you go back and you actually watch the original, you'll be like, oh, okay, he does sound different. But he does a lot of the voices, you know, and people are only talking about Fry. You can't sleep, it's nice to catch me live. Yeah, man, I appreciate it's quite late in the day here. All right, let's read this. Following many instances of trauma where one or more ward members have fallen to their demise. Sorry, fallen off the fucking city, the floating city. Dagda and Isgarren have crafted what they're calling the Net of Sidereal. As far as I can tell, this net extends from the spire itself, and by using some aura tracing sensibilities, it's then able to determine when someone has fallen too far from the bounds of Amitas. It pulls them back up to a sensible height, gently placing them on safe ground once again. This is cool, because this is kind of, again, resolving a plot hole I hadn't thought about. But, you know, what are the kind of thing... Alright, we're going to invent this wizard society, and apparently they've been here the whole time. That's a hard pill to swallow, isn't it? How has no one ever figured out? One logical thing you might ask is, well, what? Nothing ever fell off? I mean, really, come on. There's actually... My Let's Play of 12 isn't there yet, but in FF12, when you get to the... you know, they have the floating continent of Bjerba and Dorstonis and all that. When you get to the Fon Coast, you can meet this guy, and he's like, oh, I fell off of the Sky Island. Seriously, I fell. And you're like, but you're alive. And he's like, yeah, I fell in the water. I washed up on this beach. You know, you could ask that question, but here, look, this plot hole is resolved. They have the Net of Sidereal.
All exhibits are inert again. Success! Victory! Scrit knew she could count on the Wayfinder.
There you go. So chick's happy about the museum again.
Now, Urchick and Gladium have much cleaning up to do. Oh, yes.
It's then able to determine when someone's fallen. It pulls them back to a sensible height, gently placing them on the safe ground once again. Many ward members are reacting by jumping from their bastions, eager to test the new magic. While I appreciate their taste for the research, this archivist will not be participating. Yeah, is this a mechanic? Shall we see? I like how they put this right by a window where I can do it straight away. Oh, well, we hit a strong wind. Does that count? I don't think that counts. There should be an achievement for jumping off right here. There should be diving goggles at that window. The 12 LP is to my channel what the Scepter of Orr is to Guild Wars. I mean, yeah. It will happen though, guys. You know what's really devastating is I've obviously got 6 and Shadow now, and I did both of those projects promising myself that they wouldn't become like you know, unfinished works, and they currently are. But they'll be done by the time, you know, they only started this year, they'll be done by the end of this year. It's not a problem. And that's totally reasonable timescale, let me say. Alright, let's climb up.
Look at that book. And that one. The demons defile this library as we speak. None can be trusted.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it started this year, wasn't it? It was just after Christmas. It was like January I kicked that stuff up, wasn't it? Or was it just before Christmas? Oh, no, it was just before, I remember, because I was really struggling to squeeze in those episodes when I went away over Christmas Eve. And so I guess they started in December. Somewhere around there. Yeah, it was over Christmas. You guys are right. Okay, hold on. We gotta figure out where we were. It was over in this corner. It's interesting how so many more books are high up here. So that's a fun little one. This one is The Cold Frame. Can I just read while on the Sky Scale? No. We already read that, and I can tell immediately just based on Mabon's comment there. So we've already read that one. I'm very curious about the balconies as well, but we'll have to. A lot of them are gardens. I really like this thing where there's like these upper gardens everywhere. This central area, any NPCs that want to talk? No. An Unofficial History Volume 2. Now, I think we read Volume 3 before, but we haven't read Volume 2. So we're still around the year 700 here. So if I remember rightly, the story here was this guy asked Isgarren how old he was or something, and Isgarren was like, okay, why don't you just write a history of this place? Go on then. And he was like, I wonder if I'm being punished. Do you remember there was like that tongue-in-cheek joke? I think that's this guy. And we read like volume 3, I think, already. So here's 2. The more dead ends I encounter while attempting to piece together a meaningful timeline of the foundation of the Wizard's Court to present, the more I realise a history of the court would simply be a history of Isgarren himself. Did we read this already? I'm at least a little excited to venture down this path, as I've spent my entire time in the Astral Ward focusing on watching the continued escalation in Alona, for which Isgarren has shown little interest, which shocks given me his impassioned hatred for the demonic. Hold on. We're the year 716, and there's an escalation in Alona. So, in the year 716, Abaddon is already imprisoned. The Scarab Plague's already happened, probably. The time of the dynastic kings is over. Is this around the time of Churai? I don't think so. And what's Churai's story got to do with... So this would be Churai and Joko. But what's that got to do with demons? Joko is no demon. Joko didn't employ demons. What demonic happened in Alona while Abaddon was sealed away during that time? I don't know anything at that period of time. Cossage has the timeline quote here. This is Palawa. So this is Palawa's time. So maybe they consider Palawa to be demonic? Do they consider all liches to be demonic? I've got to be honest, I never really thought of Palawa as demonic. Okay, so Isgarren doesn't give a fuck about the war in Alona. In the absence of attainable records, I've decided to gather information on the curator by posing a question to the other chairs. Mabon, Weighing Sorrow, and Dagda, 2 of whom were most definitely from the same era as Isgarren himself, being from the elder races of Tyria. I spoke with Mabon first, given that he spends a great deal of time holed up in the private reading rooms of the library. He seemed bemused when I told him of Isgarren's little assignment. Shocked, even, but offered little beyond what we all already knew, that Mabon was Isgarren's first recruit. This is good. This is concrete stuff. Do you know what, Hawthorne? I'm you, my friend. I very much vibe with this guy. He's trying to piece it together, you know... Okay, so yeah, Mabon was the first, and we read something that essentially said that in the previous part. And he's shocked because Isgarren plays most of that stuff close to his chest. Mabon was his first recruit. Mabon paused for a few moments, reflecting on that time. He noted the war between the Seers and the Mursaat. Isgarren had spared him, supposedly, and, For that, Mabon will always be in his debt. He didn't say much else of note. He was quiet, and I expected him to be. Mabon's so cool. I want to say, by the way, there's a little interesting detail here that you might not think about. Who was winning the war between the Seers and the Mursaat? The Mursaat. There were fucking no Seers left. The Seers are, like, destroyed. Yeah, they had some technology and some defense. They had, like, agony resistance, right? But let's be honest, there were a shit ton of Mursaat around in Guild Wars 1. They won! The Mursaat won, okay? So for Isgarren to go to a Mursaat, make him forget his past life, elevate him and say, oh, I spared you, bro. That's a fucking tough pill to swallow if you're Mabon. You look down at the surface world for all these years, and it looks like your people are doing generally fine. Meanwhile, the Seers are all dead. And yet here you are working with a Seer who says he saved you. Eventually, you'll be vindicated. Eventually, Isgarren's going to be proved right, and it will be like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, look, the Mursaat are all dead. Flameseeker prophecies happened, okay. But until that point, and that hasn't happened yet, we're only in the year 700. So when they say Isgarren spared him, in air quotes, those are some fucking thick quotes right there. For Mabon to trust him on that. You know, it all comes back to this brainwashing thing, you know? It all comes back to this, like, they're dedicating their lives in servitude to Isgarren's beliefs and stuff, and they don't even remember who they were before, really. I mean, it's... So they consented to the process once upon a time, and now what? They're just lemmings? There's something really fucked up and unethical about all of this. And it's like ArenaNet are trying to hide it, and I don't know whether they're trying to hide it because they want it to be, like, a fun revelation later, or to dig into it later, or because... it's an impediment to the story they're trying to tell. One of those two possibilities I really like, the other I really hate. Is there a flashback that contradicts? A flashback? I haven't done any of the, like, post-game lore quests, so I have no idea what might be revealed. A flashback? I assume it's not a cutscene, it will be, like, spirits walking around an engine or something. Depends on the timing. Maybe the Seers were winning at the time. I mean, yeah, that's a good point. But when we think about these entities living thousands of years and stuff, it's not like they'd be decimated and then repopulate and then... I don't know. I tend to think it's... For human conflict, certainly, we could say that there's time for that, but I don't know whether that's true here. I can't remember where exactly, but it's like a vision of Mabon and Isgarren talking after their battle. Perhaps it's linked to the anomaly event you played earlier. Perhaps he's protecting people by hiding their memories. Or the opposite, he's feeding memories to the anomalies. Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah, I haven't done the collections yet, guys, so I don't know that stuff. Anyway, yeah, I like this spared him in the quotes. I think that's really cool. Because who the fuck is he to say he's been spared, especially at that point in history? That's Volume 2. I wonder if we get... I can't remember. Was the other one we read Volume 1? Or was it Volume 3? For some reason I want to say it was 3, but maybe it was 1, that's 2, and maybe there's a third somewhere. Dare I beg for a fourth? Cold Frame, Astral Ward Eyes Only. Well, there's no one policing, so I'm going to read it anyway. Oh my god, are you serious? Scenario, multiple base attack on Amnitas. We already read that. Oh shit, I went the wrong way. Okay, it's this wall. Let's have a nice little look out here. I like this. It's quite rare you see two NPCs on the seats next to each other. And these guys. Hello. Of course, we have to sit in the middle as the center of attention. Should I don't want to click this pop-up if it moves me to the other waypoint, you know? You guys notice that when you move... Let's see it, actually. Am I sure? Yes. I feel like quite often now, what if I go to character select and come back? ArenaNet doesn't store the data of where you are exactly stood in a lot of maps anymore. I wonder if they did that to save on space or efficiency or something. Like, if I do this, do I just appear back at the waypoint now? Like, this would have felt very... No, I appear exactly here. Never mind me then. Maybe it's just on meta maps or during metas or something. On the introduction of the Sylvari to the Astral Ward. Wow, look at that. I load into a map and instantly they want a mega server swap me. I don't think that whatever clunkiness they had from the launch of EOD has changed, by the way, with the mega servers. It looks exactly the same. Sylvari recruitment retrospective. The following notes are part of a formal assessment of the Sylvari people as viable recruits for future efforts by Mabon, the current Wizard of Strength. The current Wizard of Strength. He was the first recruit. So is that just a title he gained later or passed on later? Or like, why did they say current? Surely he would have been the one and only. But maybe not. So 1303 AE. This is before they were even out of the tree, guys. The tree nurtured by Ventari has borne fruit, so to speak. Out of respect for Isgarren's wishes, I'll keep my distance for now. To think these new beings are experiencing this world for the first time, not just as individuals, but as a people. What I would give to know what that's like. This is really interesting as well. Going back to the whole extra planar thing. Let's say, do you remember like the whole evil Sylvari conversations? You know, like they're like elder dragons. They're not dying of old age. They're propagating. The new generations are bigger and bigger and bigger. What if they just overrun the planet? All right. What if they're the Rachni of this franchise? Right. And we have to breed Krogans with full balls to fight against them or whatever. Let's say the evil Sylvari thing happens. What does Isgarren make of that? Because so far it seems to be, are you from this reality? Cool. Do what you want. Are you not from this reality? Get the fuck out. But at some point, surely you step in. Surely you look at Joko and you say, do you know what? This guy's a despot and he's killing a lot of people. No. You know, so there's an interesting ethics question there. The Sylvari especially, because they're like, if you can say anyone is of Tyria, if anyone is native to this place, if anyone has a right to life and existence here, it's the Sylvari, right? According to that mindset, according to that philosophy. It's an interesting thought. What would Isgarren do? So, by the way, this is by Mabon, and we know that Mabon met with these guys at the village ultimately and loved them and so on. So let's see. The tree nurtured, I'm not going to reread that, we already know. I'll keep my distance for now. To think these new beings are experiencing the world for the first time, not just as individuals, but as people. What I would give to know what that's like. To experience this world for the first time? As a people? Is that because he's lost his memories? He'll think about acting until it's too late, yeah. And the Guild Wars 1 hero, well, the Guild Wars 3 hero who saves the day. 1306 AE. I met a Sylvari the other day. By the way, no, I won't say that because it's spoilery. 1306. I met a Sylvari the other day. My char disguise frightened Malby at first, but she came around after I rescued her from the local crate. Is this the Mabon village thing again? She had so many questions about me for the char in the world. I did my best to answer. I admit I felt guilty for the deception. 1316. The alarm wards were triggered just south of the Beacon of Ages a few days back. A lone Sylvari had bypassed our magical defences only to pause in the beacon's shadow. She introduced herself as Narcisse. Oh shit, she just broke in! When asked how she came to be here, we learned of her wild hunt, calling her to the beacon, and of her... Wow, they got wild hunt. So this place isn't totally shielded from magics. Okay, hold on though. What? Morgemoth can't see this place, but a wild hunt can? I mean, surely that's all the same shit. Maybe after this is how they... Maybe then they learn how to protect themselves from it because of this, and that likewise saved them from Morgemoth. Calling to the beacon and of her visions of threats beyond this world. With her permission, Leah and I brought her before the others. 1328. I've been careless. In my efforts to include the Sylvari in our ranks, it never occurred to me that behind them was a deeper and sinister intent, unknown even to their own kind. Many were resilient when Morgemoth's call came. while others had to be restrained temporarily. It did not take long for the 4 of us to enhance the magical defenses around the tower and Amnitas and sever the Elder Dragon's influence. Isgarren said little to me in the following days, but his anger was plain as day. Dagda assured me it would pass. Oh, that's cool. That's great. Okay, they answered the question I just had on my mind. And I'd like to hear about a little bit of conflict there. I was just thinking to myself, it's... Surely Mabon would look at the Sylvari and be like, okay, that's Morgemoth's shit. But it's different because of Ventari's influence and all that, right? But they would have known the association, the great conspiracy in 2012 Guild Wars 2. They wouldn't have been blind to that. They would have known the whole time, surely. I would have liked this document to have gone on about that. I would have liked this document, like, early on to have been like, we're pretty sure this is associated with Morgemoth. We saw something like this on the previous cycle. Oh, how good would that have been if that was in there? But these Sylvari are different, and then just move on. But this would explain why Isgarren's so mad, you know. His anger was plain as day. Because maybe that conversation did happen. And Mabon was like, no, they'll be alright. Dagda took on a Sylvari apprentice recently, Seri. Kiara. Among us, she learned a great many things and then left. She's brilliant. But she's quick to doubt at times, especially when the lessons get hard. Oh, that's like me. Zodge has been a good friend to her, often helping her with spellcrafting or late-night studies. It's only been 30 or so years, yet I find it difficult to imagine the world and the Astral Ward without them. Their perspectives, their experiences, perhaps it could be said for the many beyond our order. Maybe now Isgarren might listen to reason. I remember a lot when I was in higher education, especially when it came to like media education and like literature and like, I don't know, a lot of things. If I didn't really buy an interpretation or a take, I would just be immensely, instead of like really trying to understand and really try to look at like how people come to conclusions, I'd just be kind of cynical and be like, you don't get to tell me how I interpret, you know, what is essentially entertainment, you know. And I still get hooked up on stuff like that, but I think a lot of it is also, you know, when things get complicated, it's easy to just be down and cynical straight away. Anyway, there you go. This is a good one. I don't super like this thing. They've only been here 30 years, but they're so amazing. For these people that have been around for hundreds, thousands of years. Yeah, alright. I suppose the Sylvari are pretty special. Because I kind of don't like this idea that the Astral Ward's been here for ages, but all the exciting stuff only just happened. I mean, maybe that's fair, because the Elder Dragon cycle just ended. It is a pretty exciting time to be around. Seer, curses, and rituals. Now, this could potentially be a big one. I think this is the last one as well here. Didn't we kill Seri? Oh, did we kill Seri? Was that in like the opener? The beginning. Oh yeah, that's the one that we found. She was wounded. That's quite tragic then. That's quite sad.
The Cryptis are controlling one of Isgarren's elementals. Someone go handle it.
It's an earth one this time. Let's see how long this is. Oh, it's only 2 pages. The beginning. This is a foreword by Isgarren in this tome all about seer curses and rituals. It is with little surprise to those in the Astral Ward or the Wizard's Court that a great deal of the magic and phenomena that surround us are of seer origin. While many of these secrets should remain just that, secret, it is critical to understand the nature of the wizard's magic in order to successfully navigate your time in this organization. Did we read this already? Every day, in some unique way, we will be interacting with these powers. Some of these spells, it would have been like episode 1 or 2 if we did. Some of these spells and curses are harmless, but some could kill you on the spot should you not approach them with the utmost respect. Seer knowledge is not like anything you've experienced before. The easiest place to start would be, well, myself, being one of, if not the only, remaining seers left within the bounds of Tyria. Here you go, look at this. So they don't really give me a clear idea if he is the last. If not the only. What do you mean if? You're not even keeping tabs on that. You might have a brother, a sister, a cousin, whatever. You may or may not be the last man standing, and you don't know. Perhaps he does know, but this book is written to be timeless, so he can't speak as to the world by the time the reader is getting the info. Maybe it's that. Being one of, if not the only, remaining seers left within the bounds of Tyria. Nice suggestion, though there could be more in the mist, just like with the Mursaat suggestion. I am something of a phenomenon. Similarly, the ritual process that allows one to connect with the flow of magic that sustains this world and become a wizard, the most appropriate translation from our original tongue. I like this detail of why wizards are called wizards, by the way. Is of the same origin and requires a great deal of blood, time, and focus to complete. See, this thing about blood as well, like the bloodstones and the ritually side of a lot of what they do, it all feels very necromantic. And in this book, I will walk you through my anecdotal experiences and opinions surrounding these magics so that you are prepared to face the many obstacles hidden throughout the halls of Amnitas. I definitely have read that before, I just don't know whether it was on the show. But there you go, on the show, video, whatever. I'm somewhat of a phenomenon myself, yeah, it's, I quite like that. That's like, you know, they should add a title track for the AP. And that should be like, not the Guam equivalent, but one of the good equivalents, you know. I'm somewhat of a phenomenon. Should we go kill the Earth Elemental? Well, there you go, so that's the library. This could have rivaled, you know, the Dermond Priory archives. In terms of, like, what it is, right? Look, I mean, the whole Great Library of Alexandria, this here, the Grand Library of Amnitas, even sounds similar. I still think the Dermond Priory archives were a bit more mind-blowing to me. There's some really good stuff in here, don't get me wrong. But there were more books and artifacts and just cool fucking hidden things in there. You know, the carpet with the full world map, Zaitan's tail and all that. Anyway, not that they have to hit that bar for this to have been worth it. It is very cool. And combined with all the other stuff in the expansion, like we're going to go to the museum next, you know, it's amazing. It's so good. So what is actually just out here?
The people of this world have such a fascination with things, baubles and books. Though I do quite like the word bauble.
I like the word bauble as well.
The Cryptis are not too dissimilar in that way, admittedly. Though I could blame Abark's lust for what is not his.
Man, I don't know how many... Does Paitha say something about every bastion or areas of each bastion? I mean, that's pretty fascinating. The word bauble, a weird thing, always makes me think of Minecraft, because usually in like Minecraft mod packs, you know, the accessory system, it's the bauble system. I've never played an MMO that really embraces the term that much. Maybe WoW does, I don't know. Oh, I guess baubles in Super Adventure Box, yeah. Come on, give me up. Alright. Oh, this one's the Ice Elemental now. I assume there's an achievement for fighting each variant of the Elemental. I can't imagine the Ice Elemental's that bad. Like, in terms of damage it does. Unless it gets some serious bounty mechanics. Just try our best not to walk into... Oh, I should have stayed for the break bar. And now I want to stay for the 5 so that I can reset it with the elite. There we go. Let's do it that way. And everyone else broke the bar. Oh, I already did air. Oh shit, I'm running fresh air? Oh my god. I didn't even realise I was running fresh air. That totally changes the way I could have been playing this. Why am I on fresh air? There we go, another rampaging elemental. Same area we've been in a few times. Let's go to that pool there on the left. Paitha has some dialogue for points in the Skywatch map as well, I see. The Astral Ward control over the gates. Same event again. Yep.
Here we go again. Defend the gates.
We can be a bit cheeky here.
Bout after bout. These gates shall not fall.
We can tag a wave and then hope that other players deal with that for us. How do we get into that pool room? I want to add my second stun break. What do I want though? Maybe the super speed one? I use that very rarely, but it feels good, you know. In PvE, you can super speed when you're running out while in combat. You know, you get your combat speed, your movement speed back as soon as possible. Well, that's not an entrance. What's this? Oh, this is downstairs. Okay, so there's the museum, but then there's also like this archive room. Oh, and there's an event to like navigate this. I might get kicked out if I come here as well. Yeah, it's a really cool event where you get a special action and it like lights up the walls. And there's only very specific route you can walk through in there. It's really cool. It doesn't seem to be up right now though, so. Okay, is the pool just up here? Is it a rooftop pool? It is. I like this. The pool of reflection with some dolphins in it. Seems a little bit cruel or inhumane, maybe. There you go. There's a really nice vibe here. It's a good place to chill.
I'll be happy when we're able to move again. Somewhere tropical. Lower elevation. I miss the Dominion.
Oh, that's cool.
And I miss Alona. I wonder if this war would be better fought if we were further south.
The closer we are to home, the more at risk they'd be. It's a hard truth.
That's cool. You know, I kind of looked at the location of the expansion as somewhat arbitrary. You know, it feels somewhere new, but whatever, this could have been anywhere. And I kind of, that's the thing, like, I do love this, right? I really like this. But in a lot of ways, I want to go on a new adventure. I want to feel like I felt when I first logged in on factions, or I first started exploring Alona in Guild Wars 1. You know, give me a new adventure, and, you know, you just put me on some Sky Islands. It feels very, it's, you know. With the idea that mini-X packs are only ever going to be 2 maps as well, I don't know whether they can fully do it. We did say on the previous part, didn't we, like you could do half and half. I mean, maybe they can do it. And the problem as well is there's so many things I want in mini-X packs that wouldn't be that. Like, just let me see Malik's tree. Let me have a holiday episode at the Matani Keys, you know? Take me back to the Latenda Bog or some shit. Let's go to the Battle Isles. Give me the Kirin Peak. Give me Drowned Kainen. Give me the other half of Saitang. You know, and these aren't new adventures. They're just filling in holes, right? Like, the idea of, like, this is very different. And, I mean, that would work so perfectly with the bottom left icon there. But, I mean, with one a year, you never know. You can get through stuff pretty quick. It's so weird, guys. Think about it. They, right now, are working on the next mini-X pack. I know that we've got some patches to go through, right? And people will be working on those patches. But there are people that, at the very least, are like... At the very least, it should be concepted, right? What they're doing, where they're going, why they want to go there. Like, surely they've got a concrete idea already. What do you guys think the highest chances? I'd love to read that in chat. What do you guys think? I'm not asking what you want. I'm asking what you think the highest chance is that we'll see next. You can tell me what you want as well, but... Yeah, have a good night. I'm going to be closing this episode down very soon because it is very, 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 very late. And I know that that's kind of blue balls because I'm sure a lot of us want to see the museum. But that's going to be a cliffhanger. Didn't I say that we could do 3 bastions today? We've done 1 room in a bastion. I can't get that POI. It's downstairs, apparently. You think the woodland cascades?
Make your move. Do not rush me, Moisture Bucket. We're playing...
Oh, this is so good!
5 days they battle.
5 days. They're playing Golem chess. Okay, that's cool as fuck. I hadn't seen this. Oh, that is cool. You know, someone in chat or Spud guild chat or something. Someone asked, hey, where's the original untampered golem chest, WP? And I did respond. I said, look, it's buried in Heart of Thorns now. Just so that you guys know that there used to be a mini game you could play right here at the start for the Asura, but when they simplified and removed a ton of shit with a new player experience, that Christ knows what the fuck was going on there. But when they did that, it was really sad. And when Heart of Thorns came out, they added like one extra place you could play it. And you have to come here to this hero challenge behind the falls. You can only play it there now, I think. Anyway, maybe there wasn't added somewhere else. That's so good. They've been playing for 5 days. Oh, this is awesome. A Jin, a Tengu, and a Largos watching. Make your move. That's fantastic. Expansions with weird little bonus features like this. I don't know. Will we ever see in Guild Wars anymore? Mini pet battles, polymock. Is there any chance of polymock, guys, in a mini X-Pack? I personally would not prioritize that until we're like 5 or 6 deep. There's a lot of other things I would prioritize first, like, you know, the Wizard's Vault we had here. By the way, weekly reset, so I got a bunch of currency again.
Is Urchik ever glad to see you? We got big problems here. Small problems, too.
So, we can buy some more of these.
Museum exhibits are all coming to life. Scritch things because of Cryptis magic somehow. Urchik is using full strength to contain exhibits. Wayfinder, please go neutralize them. Yes?
Shift H is my default bind for the Wizard's Vault. Is that a default bind? That's a weird bind. Anyway, yeah, we're doing okay. I don't have a collection to track this, but it looks like... Oh, there's quite a few skins. I'm about halfway done with that. Hope I get it in time. Yeah, so the museum is the next thing, and then we'll be done with the Bastion of Knowledge. I do want to do that event in that warehouse area, and I do want to get this POI. I'd love to get this POI before we leave today. But it might be that it's associated with an event that I can't go into right now. Oh, no. Oh, no, that's the museum. I've mentioned Giganticus Lupicus many times across these episodes already.
What do you imagine we'll do with the inhabitants of the fractals? I can't imagine sending them back. I don't know if they'd survive the trip.
Well, we certainly don't have the space in the Wizard's Tower. We'll likely be knee-deep in damage control.
I would consider them our damage control. They didn't have a choice in any of this. Finding them a home is as important as repairing ours.
Yeah, I think he's right. It's actually, there's a lot of Tengu here. Like I say, this would have been a really good expansion if it was paired with, like, a Dominion story and playable Tengu. It all would have worked really well. It turns out there's a bunch of them up here or something. It's weird, though, because the Tengu are very isolationist. I love the Tengu, and I'm happy to see a lot of them up here, but I kind of don't buy it. I feel like there should be very few. And weirdly, there's not many Canthan Tengu up here. In fact, have we seen any? Have we seen any of the really exotic, cool-looking Tengu? You know, like the Cuckoo Tengu or whatever? Oh, by the way, a rift. This is the first rift. We actually haven't done any main story this entire time we've been here. So let's do a rift. Out by the pool that we can fish in. Should I call it a pool? It's more of like a pond, really, isn't it? If it's got wildlife in it. It's like hero panel plus shit. Yeah, I know, but like, why? I wouldn't really think of it as anything close to the hero panel. Maybe because login rewards used to be on the hero panel. That's just got me thinking again about the, you know, all the things I'd like to see them do with the achievements to split into other tabs. I wonder if I should just script up and do it all at once and just slowly release the episodes. Like a little mini-series of things I would currently like to see in Guild Wars. I wonder if that would be interesting to people. I don't know. I really don't like doing videos like that anymore because there's always so much scrutiny on them in terms of like, well, I don't know, maybe you just gotta have some balls. Here you go. We closed the rift. We got a tiny bit of progress there. This one's only tier 1. I think the tier 2 ones do better. I think way back when I did like a reviewy thing about minis as well, and I had the script, but I don't think I ever actually released the episode, did I? Or wasn't I ranking them or something? Or I did minis and I was going to do outfits or something, or I think maybe the mini episode did make it up. Amnitas incursions.
Wayfinder. Ugh. The rifts you're sealing are enabling Zizzle to pick up on stronger astral frequencies. It's helpful.
I'm seeing very dense clouds of consciousness, emotions, swirling. But they're getting darker.
Keep it up. We'll find Laban in no time at this rate.
It's good to hear from Zodja there, actually. It's been a while, right? We've been doing so much here. Right, all of that, though, and I was just trying to get downstairs. Let's come down. Oh, I guess that waypoint, I guess that's all that room. It's all a part of that event. So we have to wait for the event to go up before we can get in there and do that. I'm really happy with some of this NPC dialogue that fired, though, in these weird areas of the... Like, it makes me want to actually walk up. If I ever see multiple NPCs standing near each other, like, get right up near them. Because you never know. Yeah, we can't go in. Look, all of them are blocked. And as tempted as I am to fly in over it, I'm sure it's not going to work. Oh my god, is it going to work? No. The other thing we could do is maybe stun break instant. No. Okay. Alright, Jade bot. Oh, even our mini's getting kicked back. Oh. Not getting confused, though. Alright, so there you go, guys. That's this part. I can't believe that. 2.5 hours... on the library and a bit of the Bastion of Knowledge. Yeah, I'm stretching out a little bit more than I normally would, but at the end of the day, it's fun, it's all valid conversation, and when we run out of content, we run out of content, right? Who wants that? So there you go, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll join you next time for these 2 parts of the Bastion of Knowledge, and we're done. We would have done the natural, we would have done knowledge. There is strength, spirit or something, I can't remember what it's called, and obscure, and then of course the stuff with the meta in the middle, and then the end of the story as well, obviously. So plenty of time for lots more fun stuff. Thank you, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed. I'm gonna probably, once this is over, go back and read more of the live chat. I do want to encourage you guys again, feel free to drop any comments below the video, because I do always check those. And in fact, what I'm kind of in a rhythm of at the moment, guys, is I read comments, normal comments, under these videos right before I go live on the next one.
Preliminary signs of multiple...
There you go, the meta's coming up again already. Right after I start the next one. So usually, if people have got cool comments and stuff, it will be on my mind. I'll probably end up talking about it right at the start of the next part. But yeah, have a good night, guys. Sleep well. And thank you very much for watching. It's been lots of fun. And see you on the Discord in the meantime. Bye-bye.